Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Aus Pro-Am Sim Series Round 3 from Catalonia for the first of the Enduro rounds for this series. I'm Stuart Brown. I'm joined here tonight again by my partner in crime, Scotty Rankonius Rankin. And what do you think, Scotty? We're here for a 1 hour, 45-minute race tonight with this crazy grid of GT3 cars. It's going to be a full one.
Oh, I think I might have just lost my mic. Can you probably still hear me now?
You're all on board, mate. We've got you loud and clear. Good evening, Aaron. Thanks for joining us, mate. I'm not sure that we've got the man of the hour, Tommy, on the stream tonight. He is on our Thursday night stream, but we love having you here. Thank you for joining us. We love your input. As we've got a Hey Charlie car on the screen. Corbett's not in tonight, mate. Thursday night. It's only Tuesday. But welcome. Thank you for joining us. So, Scotty, what do you reckon, mate? We've got an hour 45 here with a group of improving in terms of cleanliness drivers. Last week, big improvement, smaller track. This week, hour 45. We've got the tiredness factor to work into this. We're at a track with a high track temperature. What do you think we're going to see? No, I think we might still have lost Scotty there, so I'll keep up with that. So we're just in the tail end of practice here. We've come on, we've had no issues tonight, touch wood, broadcaster's nightmare, but we've had no issues tonight whatsoever in getting everything up and running. So we're able to actually get online, imagine that, on time, doing better than the trains. But we're up and running here for this round, and I think I've got Scotty back now.
Yeah.
Beautiful, with about 4 minutes to go. So, as I've literally led into this, so that the viewers are drooling at the prospect of you telling them what you think is going to happen here tonight, mate.
Tyre wear, intense tyre wear, as you may have seen. So we've gone to Catalonia at probably the most optimal time of the year, with the COVID-affected racing for the Formula 1 series, having just visited Catalonia on the weekend. Lewis Hamilton through. I tell you what, this microphone cable is going to do my head in, I think.
Well, you're still with us? We've got you still. And you're out again. So perhaps I've given Scotty the commentator's curse instead, so he'll get that microphone issue fixed. He's already back again. That's how much of a pro he is. Yep. We're back online.
So, yeah, like I was saying, optimal time of the year probably to be diving into racing at Catalonia. It is a phenomenal racetrack. You see racing in all sorts of categories. You've got Formula-style open-wheel racing, as we were just mentioning, Formula 1's here over the weekend. Multiple classes worth of touring car racing, GT racing, you name it, it comes to Catalonia. And the reason for that, this is Spain's premier circuit. The only time that there's really been another circuit from the Spanish portion of the globe on the Formula One calendar was the Valencia Street Circuit, which was actually phenomenal for the amount of issues it caused, and some of the most profound Maldonado moments have been caused there. The fan favorite, Pasta Maldonado, always up to tricks in the Spanish portion of the globe. We are looking at one hell of a tyre abusive circuit. Drivers are going to have to be managing tyres from the start of the stints tonight right the way through before finally finishing off the race this evening with some pretty sketchy tyres, is my prediction. Normally I'm predicting GT3 cars to single stop their tyres. Yeah, look, they're going to be struggling to get to the end of their first pit stop. During the heat of the day, during the 12-hour event at Catalunya, GT3 cars, you wouldn't have blamed them for going into the box a little bit early sometimes. It was actually, you weren't playing the fuel management game as much as you really wanted to. You were really just playing, can I get there on the tyres? Is there another lap in these things before I am no longer comfortable? Well, we'll see. But we've actually got a slightly different configuration. If anything, I like this configuration slightly more. Because the hairpin's not quite as sharp. It's actually, it creates a little bit more of an overtaking opportunity, and you don't have to shallow off your corner entry.
Yeah, and it's interesting you touch on that there, because there are a couple of variants, as you say, of this track. And I believe here we're not running the one with that nasty chicane in it that everyone hates. So that will help, as we just see a big off on the inside there for Trent Lavis, our current leader of the championship. So it's just in the tail end of practice here, so not all that important, but certainly not something that we would expect to see from him in the race. We've you and I both done a little bit of endurance racing here, and I can tell you this is a place where you do not get any rest. The straight is nowhere near as long as it looks, and you've always got traffic to contend with here. Particularly at the moment, we've got around 32 cars, I believe, on the grid. Sorry, my correction, 29 cars on the grid. So it's still going to be a full pack for this race. Pit stops are going to be critically important. I'm with you. I don't think any driver will manage to keep his tyres until the end. So really, it's about managing the race. We speak about it every single week, particularly when we're on the GT, Super GT Thursday with those longer format races. The drivers here used to doing race formats significantly shorter. We've got a 45-minute race, main race normally, and a 25-minute entry race for this series. So this longer hour 45 is going to test some of these drivers. To be fair, some of them, though, do a fair bit of endurance racing, so they should know what to do. I'm talking about drivers like Brad Klink and Matty Corleone, our third place currently on our list of championship points. And it's a good segue into that. I might just bring that up on the screen quickly so we can have a quick look at the championship standings. Apologies for the small font there, but there is a lot of drivers, so I've really only looked at the top 10 here. We've got Trent Lavis, who was our race winner last week, who is on the number one spot at the moment, 827 points. He is currently only 11 points in front of Matthew Corleone, and we've got Jack Boyd there at 736 points following up our podium. So expect plenty of movement out of tonight's race with not much margin, particularly in that 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th spot area. So a couple of those drivers do well. We get some mistakes like we did have last week from a couple of our drivers at the top of the list. Then it is very much game on for everyone. Do also need to bring to your attention the Peninsula Transfers team, who are on board as our Big Movers or Hard Charger Award. Last week, that Hard Charger Award was taken out by Sebastian Murray Westberg, who isn't joining us tonight, unfortunately a little bit under the weather, but we'll see who can take out that biggest mover as we get through the race tonight.
And we were just talking about track layouts and what that means. This layout's actually far more prone to passing. Normally, basically the flip-flop, the little chicane in the middle of the circuit, not the one that has been deleted on this layout, but the one that's still the little left-right hand up the hill before you head down onto the back straight. That chicane, off limits for passing. I honestly do not expect somebody within their right mind, unless they're something's happened and they're a little bit teed off, to be looking for a pass there. What they'll be trying to do is set themselves up for a pass down the back straight. either on pace or under brakes into the left-hander at the end of the back straight. So at the back end of the track, you can make the benefits of this layout as well, is rather than having the final chicane in there, there is a little bit more chance for overtaking. This section of the circuit that most drivers wouldn't be familiar with right now is a nice long sweeping right-hander, and then another nice long sweeping right-hander that brings you back out on the straight. Normally, there'd be a tight little right-hander, followed by your little first gear left-right chicane before you start building that power up on. What that does mean is the cars can run a little bit longer gearing, which means the speeds will be a little bit higher, the acceleration maybe not quite there, depending where these drivers decide to go with their setups this evening. A little bit higher load, actually, on the tyres, because you've got a high downforce corner followed by a high downforce corner at the back end of the circuit, and the front end of the circuit, all high downforce corners. Middle sector's the only time the cars are really going to get much of a break, and it's not a huge deal, to be perfectly honest. Trail braking is going to be the key to a successful lap. If you pull up the car too early into the corner, you're idling through the mid corner, you're going to save a little bit of fuel, but your lap time is going to suck, to put it nicely.
Let's bring up the weather here, as we were talking about earlier on. Going to be a key part of this race. And 21 degrees in the air there. The track temperature is very fuzzy on that graphic, but I believe it's 29 degrees. So actually not too foul as far as Catalunya gets. Track temperatures of up to 50 degrees. Not unusual here at all, similar to the conditions we saw at Darwin on the weekend. Darwin probably a little bit hotter in the V8 supercars, but very much a factor on tyre wear and grip, because it's way too hot and you can't run the pressures low enough in this game to try and optimise for that temperature. Equally, with the way the weather is dynamic in this setting, it can change during the race, so you don't really want to be trying to muck around with fuel pressures too much in the event that you get it wrong. So static track, not dynamic track conditions here, static tyre temperatures, and definitely going to be the thing for us to talk about as we look at how these drivers try and work out the fuel as well as anything else. When we think about it, an hour 45, it's an odd timing, which will be why the series organisers did it. In some of the longer format racing we have covered, definitely looking at getting to that hour mark as that fuel window. But here, do people try and save and do a splash at the end? Do they run 30 minutes, pit early, try and get out of the traffic? Probably not likely at a track as short as Catalunya, relatively short in terms of endurance track lengths. And then run it to the end out of the traffic. I don't know, there's a couple of different ways that these guys can go in terms of developing a strategy for the race. 9 times out of 10 though, whatever you do and develop for a strategy gets thrown out of the window on lap 1, as everyone who thinks they can win it on the first lap tries to do so and bins it in the meantime. So I believe there's one fast repair for the drivers tonight, so that will help them if they do happen to come across any of that early ambition. And hopefully not too many of them needing to use it. Last week we saw a great race at Belle Isle, and the drivers there pretty tidy. There was a few little incidents from what I understand, as we just watched Brad Clenk on the timing monitor on the bottom of the screen there do 2 purple sectors, so he is flying. He's in the GT Ford, and we'll just jump on board with Brad as he brings his lap around. And what's
I was going to say, I thought I saw a few extra Fords kicking around the track this evening.
And
so
very, very perceptive of you, Scotty. There is. We are up to 4 Fords in this series now, which is a great thing for us. The disappointing thing, though, is there's still only one McLaren.
This layout is actually good for the McLaren, which
Absolutely.
So the reason drivers will be jumping on the Ford, just specifically for this evening, for the Fords, what they tend to do is overwork the rear tyres a little bit, but the thing that they are strongest on is fuel management. Now, an hour 45. Well, during the 12-hour at Catalunya, we were actually seeing stint lengths of about an hour and 10 minutes.
Yes.
Seemed to be the average, and I had a report from our GT3 guys that was pretty much consistent right across the cars, not just in the GTE cars. So, looking at that now, do you take the risk and go short stint early, long stint later, split it 50-50 right down the middle, or long stint early, short stint later? Well, ways to think of this are, at the start of the race, everyone is going to be on the same levels of tyre wear. Now, this is the mind games. What I'm trying to set up for you guys is the mind and the thought and the strategical thinking that is going to be going on within inside a lot of these drivers' heads, within crew chiefs' heads, within engineers' heads, whoever's working on that for them this evening. Start of the race, everyone's going to be on the same sort of setup. Fuel numbers, now that's where you get a little bit of leeway. That's where you start playing some mind games. So you could see a couple of cars that are a little bit out of sync on pace. Normally, the way that I like to look at these things, again, going to reference the chessboard because that's exactly where I like to set it up. I like to give myself a little bit of flexibility. I like to say, right, I'm going to throw all of my fuel at the car right now. Why am I going to do that? Well, elapsed time, something happens, come in, get that top off. I'm looking to just get the fast repair and get straight back out on the track. I'm losing next to no time in the pits. Number 2, 10 laps from now, something happens. All of a sudden I go, right, I'm slightly short of getting to the end of the race. Let's get a fresh set of boots on this thing. Let's start to make that time up now and put perhaps some pressure on the cars ahead of me. Maybe I don't take a set of boots at the next stop. Maybe I take it just before the end of the race. Who knows? You give yourself that little bit of strategical flexibility. Now, you get to the halfway mark in the race. Do you pit early? Well, that means that you're going to be on your tyre set for a lot longer and you're going to have a massive fall off the cliff. But the benefit is all of those guys who are still out there on the track, they're losing potentially anywhere up to 2 seconds a lap on you throughout the middle sector of the race. That's going to give you track position. This layout, easier to make passes on than the other layouts at Catalunya. Now, that track position matters a small little bit. Wow.
You see Brady Myers there just checking out the braking sensitivity of Matty Carleone's car. And fortunately, it is good. I was just going to quickly point out there as well, there's only 3/100ths of a second between Brady Myers and Jeff Connell for pole position.
Well, he was looking for him right there, that's for sure.
Absolutely, and he was on for it. A little bit of traffic playing into this at the moment. A couple of drivers jumping into pit lane, I think, to potentially wait until the traffic dies down on the track a little bit because it's very full out there at the moment. I can tell you that of our 29 starters, 24 of them were on the track at that point of time, so very full circuit for a clean and quick qualifying lap. So we'll just see probably a little bit of a breath of air here. Jeff Connell's going quicker at the moment on his lap that he is on. He's about halfway around that lap at the moment, was 0.3 quicker. So see if he can keep that going, just to slightly widen that gap enough to ask the question of Brady Myers as he gets a new set of boots in pit lane. No tyre restrictions on these cars either. They have as many sets as they choose to burn through, making any tyre manufacturer happy if they were paying for these tyres, but as they're not, not necessarily going to benefit anyone other than the driver and the speed. We've got, just looking through the drivers list there, Scotty, and we've got a few names that I don't recognise. So a couple of new drivers into the series. Whether that's the case or there's some co-drivers happening here, I don't believe that there is, but we'll just keep an eye on that as we get into the night.
So quick scroll through the drivers list. Now, if this was a team session, instead of seeing drivers' names within the entries list, I'd be looking at team names right about now.
And there are
I'm not.
No.
Yeah, so it is drivers. It's a single driver session, so we can take co-drivers out of the equation. With the Super GT Thursdays, we did see with the New Zealand sim races that they opted to have it as an option for the drivers to sort of pick. And we did see a couple of them, potentially go either way. I think that's actually not a bad setup. Couple reasons for that. Drivers are normally only required to commit to a shorter race. Tonight it's a little bit more investment on their time. Some drivers not able to make that commitment. So, that's an option. And we've still got a reasonable field here tonight of 28 drivers, I believe. What are we normally getting somewhere in around the 30s to 40s?
We were, yeah. We've had a couple pull out late on, and but there is some new ones. Like I can just see here in terms of your identifying that there are a couple more Fords here. Of course, Brad Klink running the Ford from the start, along with Stephen Bartholomew, Matty Gray But Dennis Gatarik joins the field in the Ford. He's just
Good
leaving
spot, that
pit
one.
lane now, so we'll just jump on board with him in a fantastic livery on that GT of his. And I'd say that he is potentially another one of the gents from Redback Racing team. It's not confirmed, but it would seem to be the case given that he's chosen to run the Ford. But he's currently the quickest man in the Ford as well, so currently sitting in 6th spot, heading back out onto the track now with about just under 8 minutes to go to get on to seeing if he can improve on that position. Now we've got the situation again where of our 28 drivers, 25 of them are currently on track, so all about managing your time here, looking at the gap between yourself and the car in front and trying to create enough of a gap to get a clean run with no traffic in front of you if you can do it. Difficult to achieve, not as difficult here as perhaps say a track like Oran Park, where it's a shorter track overall, so getting track time to yourself in an open qualifying session like this is at a premium.
I was just going to say there are a couple of gaps, so you got 7 minutes, right? If you're going to have a look for that clear bit of space on the circuit right about now, go now. Go now. Jump back into the pit lane. There's a huge gap forming behind car currently in line with Trent Laves, all the way back down to Daniel Webster. He's just on the back straight at this point in time. Webster's about to take the right-hander. From Webster, there's another little bit of probably a 10-second gap back to Hayden Jackson, who's just coming through the chicane right now to head up towards the back straight. Another big gap for him coming out of corner 5 and heading down towards the chicane at 13th spot, which is Brad Clenk. So there are a few gaps there that are actually formed on the track. But like I said, if you want them, box now, box now, box now. Let's get that qualifying fuel load reloaded. Let's get a fresh set of boots on the car. Let's give yourself a lap to warm the tyres and then 2 flyers. That's really what you want. That way, you make a mistake on the first one, take a breath, go for the second one. Alternatively, you nail your first one. All right, car feels good. Tyres are a little bit more up to temperature. Let's have another crack at this. Maybe I can find another 10.
Yeah, and
but if you leave it any later, not going to have the time to get both done.
Unlike normal weeks, unfortunately, we don't have a pole position award sponsor for this week. So pole drivers still will take out $15 for taking pole position here. Currently still Jeff Connell in the lead on that part. So if you are looking to get involved in one of these things, get your business a little bit of exposure, shoot the guys at Aus Pro-Am Sim Racing a message, and definitely jump on board because you get good exposure. HJ Plant Repairs are now the effective sponsor for that for this evening as our partner for this series. So HJ Plant Repairs are not only participants but supporters of this series and helping us get this one on the air. So we appreciate them for their support. 5 minutes to go.
Tell us about Corbett. Man, I'm just having a look through the comments in the chat, and there's some more questions about Tommy Corbett. Wrong day, guys.
Wrong day, wrong country.
Or alternatively,
we need to get him in. We need to get him in.
Yeah, let's get him in. Let's get him in.
We'll see what we can do.
Can we stick him in an FGM car? I'd love to see the FGM car out there on track. Even more reason to focus on Tommy Corbett.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see what we can do there. We can't make any guarantees, kind of like the interview last week. But Brady Myers, they're putting in a fastest third sector, and he's improved on his lap at the front of this field. To move himself to the front of this field with a 141.37. Jump on board with Jeff Connell here, who is now put under pressure to respond with his 141.54 to see if he can get the job done. He's done a fastest second sector here, so he is on if he can keep their lap together. He's going to need to improve in Sector 3 on his fastest because that is where Brady Myers made up a majority of his time. Fastest there by just under half a second. So
I was just about to say, Clenk was on a flyer, hadn't put in any of his personal best sectors, didn't get it done. Connell, purple in the second center. You know who else is on a flyer? Jack Boyd. Proves his lap time, not enough to send him to pole though. So we've got 3 minutes and the session and the track has come alive.
So we'll just jump on board here with Jack Boyd, who you did highlight there. He is heading around again as he goes through turn 1. Up on the curbing there. Just try and jump off here. Let the car balance itself as you head around and then jump back on the throttle for the run into turn 4. You've got to get back across to the right. No, I'm in the wrong part of the track. You've got to stick here till under the bridge to the right hand, and then you've got to pull the car back in as you, again, patient on the throttle, heading around before the left-hander before you start heading through the midsection of the track. This corner will catch drivers out at the start of the race. I would almost bet my house on it, as you can see there. You've almost called it, Jack Boyd there running wide. It's an off-camber corner. Drivers are hot and heavy trying to get their way around, and that will cause them trouble, I guarantee it, into the first part of this race. Come around here. This is a great part. Probably one of my favourite corners in motorsport, that one. If you get it right, it's flat out and you flat into the straight before you head down to the hairpin. Again, another corner. If we've got a lot of bunched up cars at the start of this race where there's going to be trouble. How is Boyd doing here? He's not quite on his fastest. He's done the fastest first sector of any man on the track. Second sector, though, has let him down a little. Can he pull it up in this third sector? That is the question. He has been good in the third sector, in fact, faster than both of the gentlemen in front of him. So he could get it done. It's all up to him to see if he can pull this back and maybe move into second place on the grid with 4/100ths of a second difference between himself and Connell.
I tell you what, Connell's only just behind him as well. Connell 2 seconds off his best, so he's at a bobble somewhere on that fast lap as well. Keeping our eyes out, so we're 1 minute and 50 seconds now to the end of the qualifying session. And well, if you're not out of the pits, it's too late. Your session will be over and done with. Ian McMahon is now improving as well from his lap back in 11th. He's now in the final sector, about to send it around the last corner. Nice and smooth. That was quick. But how quick is the question? McMahon goes quicker. Not quite quick enough to send right to the top.
Yeah,
Cardelloni's on another flying lap, but he is very, very slow in the final sector. Miles off his best lap. Maybe he's setting himself up for this lap. It's, well, we said it was getting busy before. It is absolutely boiling point out in the track right now if you want to get a good spot.
So I think Myers is going to have to roll the dice and either pull into the pits or fang it for another lap on old tyres or relatively old tyres. Boyd here coming around to work through his probably last lap now. He won't get another one started in time to finish it under the period of qualifying. So stick with Boyd here and see how he goes. I'll keep an eye on Brady Myers just in case he has to respond. We've got Brady McHugh as well, who is doing his last lap. So they're basically our contenders. Jeff Connell has put the Q in the rack. He is in pit lane as Myers brings the BMW around to the last corner here. How's he going to go? I don't think he's going to go any quicker. It hasn't been quick enough through the other sectors of the track.
Just taking a quick look down the timing charts as well. No one's setting their sectors at lights.
No.
I'm not seeing a green sector from anyone at this point in time, so whether or not the track's just gone off a little bit towards the back end of that sector, back end of that qualifying run.
So Brady McHugh here, the only one who can really influence our top three as the and he's ejected from that lap. He's pulled out of it. So that's it. All set. So congratulations, Brady Myers. You are our pole position winner tonight. The honorary right for that going to HJ Plant Repairs as our marquee sponsor and taking out pole position here. There are still some of the placings going on. Luke Bergen's still on a lap in that McLaren to try and move himself up. Steve Bartholomew as well, still finishing a lap in his
I was about to say
Ford.
Brady Buchanan and Adam Bolton. So Adam Bolton will be the next one around. No, he's in pit lane, so he's out of this one as well. Jack, I think we both said, was off his lap. So I think it's pretty much
They're all out.
The only one we've got is probably going to be the 26th position car, which is Brady Buchanan at the moment.
No,
is about the only one that can improve.
All done. The flag's gone. So they are done. So we've got basically a finished grid here with Brady Myers on pole, followed by Jeff Connell and Jack Boyd in third. We will bring the grid to you as the series ticks over and we get to the start line for this 1 hour, 45 minute Enduro as round 3 at Catalunya of the Aus Pro-Am Sim Series. Brought to you by HJ Plant Repairs and fortunately broadcast to you by ourselves, FGM ECast. For those of you who have joined, the numbers tonight, fantastic. Thank you for joining us and supporting our channel. We really appreciate it. Drop us a like, let us know where you're from. If you love what we're doing, we'd love it if you'd follow or share, even start a watch party or any of those sorts of social media activities that are available to you, and support our channel in that way. If you are watching on Twitch, we're still waiting for our first person to use some of our new facilities available on Twitch. So drop an emote, do whatever you need to do, and get settled in for the next 1 hour, 45 minutes, where it's our pleasure to bring you this first of the Enduro style races in this series.
Get your cats out in the chat.
Oh no, look at that. You've even got your own emote. What's going on with that?
Yeah, I got my dino cat. So funny story. We bought Rufus, who's the cat in the bloody dinosaur outfit. A couple of outfits. He just sort of pretends that they're not there. He's like, I'd really prefer if you guys wouldn't do this, but you're doing it, so all right. And we managed to get a photo of him in his dinosaur outfit and turn it into a bit of an emote, brother.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, I mean, each to their own. It's probably not my cup of tea, but you know, you got to do what you got to do. And here we are with the grid there. So we've got. If you want to take us through that, Scotty, let us know where we're at.
Yes, sure. So, like you said, Myers was the recipient of the pole position award this time around. Jeff Connell in second place, 141.366 for Myers, 141.5 for Connell. Only 0.39 of a second further back was Jack Boyd in third place. Will lead away Braden McHugh on the second row of our grid. From the third row, Cardelloni. He's back up there in the standings once again. And hot last week was Trent Laves. He's also starting off alongside him. Dennis Gaderick and Rick Kuznetsov, will be your fourth row of the grid. Rounding out our top 10 will be Glenn Firth and Simon Lada. After that, Ian McMahon with a nice little hot session there for him. Managed to almost squeeze himself into the top 10, but not quite. Stephen Bartholomew on 12th position. Looking slightly further back, Jeffrey Wang, Blood Clink, Luke Bergens in that McLaren. After that will be Miles Bond, Daniel Webster, Hayden Jackson, Glenn Boyd, and Carl Barvich are your top 20.
Yep, thank you for that. And we are through and ready to go in this one, so we'll turn everything back on. Get ready here. It's I've just noticed here, we finally got them there. Brady Myers and Jeff Connell, our lead two cars there, just coming really late to the grid. In fact, Myers just ejecting again there. I don't know if he forgot to put the fuel load into the car or what he forgot to do there, but he was in and out of that one like the bellboy at a hotel. So it's, yeah, good to see him get on the grid. We hate it when we see internet issues as the cause or the problem for people not getting onto the grid as we get away here with the pace car. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to jump out to blimp mode so we can have a look at this grid as they file through. We've got everyone there. Looks like there's a couple of cars stopped on the dummy grid, but they're going and getting things done.
Dummy grid, perfect name for it sometimes. Grid full of dummies.
Sometimes. Not these guys. So they do a good job.
Oh, Lord. Sim racing creates some amazing moments sometimes, and sometimes some moments of absolute distress. Myers has been an absolute hotshot at the start of this series, and he is going to field rounding the final corner as we head past the start-finish line for the first of an hour and 45 minutes worth tonight. Who do you think is going to be our winner? Who would you like to see ranking up there? Who would you perhaps like to see on the podium? If his name's not Tom Corbett, well, I don't know who you're thinking, but he's my outside $1.10 for the fan favourite, I'd have to say, as Myers leads us away. Gets a great start. He'll lead us into corner number 1.
And as we go down into here, we've got 3 wide down in the mid-pack there. That number normally doesn't work, but the driver's doing very well there to give one another room and respect down in the mid-pack there. And as I said, we head up and around here. What we're looking for is to see how the pack spreads out as they get down towards turn 4 and 5. I'm going to jump a little bit further back in the pack here as we just see Brady Myers get away to about a second lead as the rest of the pack battle it out for the positions here. A little bit of racing room there needed to be given. Oh, and that is definitely going to catch the eye of the stewards there. That is a terrible piece of driving from Jeff Connell, and unfortunately they're affecting the race of the two drivers in front of him with some unfortunate impact to an innocent bystander. I didn't actually catch who that was there who did that, who copped that.
Might have been Bergens. I'm just listening to the driver's comms at this point in time, and Bergens was the first one
on the
to
radio.
Actually radio that one through the stewards, but it looks like his race hasn't been affected, so maybe he was just calling it for the steward.
Yeah, and that is something that we've introduced tonight. So Scotty is dialed in as we just see one of our drivers there, Trent Lavis, unusually get wide onto the dirt. Scotty's dialed into the driver channel tonight as well, so he's going to be bringing us plenty of the live action from the drivers on the race comms and the stewards' information as well. So as we are trying to do every week, improve the service we bring to you all and the coverage we bring to you all. So that little addition there, giving us a bit of insight into what's going on. We'll get early notification of events and the outcomes.
So just from having a quick look at everything as it stands, it was just Bergens just saying, hey, can you just have a look at this, one of the stewards? Stewards immediately responded, yep, we're going to have a look into that, and there'll be a little bit further an update. So drivers early that are going to drop back through the field, both of the Boyds, both of Boyd Racing have dropped right to the rear. Hayden Jackson was affected, may have opted to start from pit lane. Sebastian Murray Westberg is right down at the back end of the field. Miles Bond is down at the back end of the field. Brady McHugh, so there is, and Simon Larder, it looks like, is the other one, and Rick Kuznetsov. So there's a lot of drivers that have been caught up in action in their first couple of laps. Good news, hour and 45 minutes. They've got a good chance to see if they can work their way back on the lead lap, maybe cause some trouble towards the back end of the race.
To be brutally honest, I'm not sure that Murray Westberg or Bond actually started the race. Just looking at it there, they've completed zero laps.
Yeah, right.
But you're still spot on. 4 drivers early on in the pits, and equally we've got plenty of time to go in this one, so it's not to spare for them. As Brady Myers, the man on screen, fastest man on the track at the moment with a 1:46.4 from the rolling start here. Matty Corleone benefiting from that early action, but no man more than my man, Luke Bergens, has benefited from that early carnage at the start, up a whopping 8 spots into 7th position at the start of this race. We've got a really tight pack of cars from Bergens back. Bergens is in 7th spot and right back to around about 13th position. It's half a second a spot either way for you as we get round into the start of lap 3.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit that way. Draft does factor quite heavily into laps around Catalunya. Whether or not drivers opt to use the draft to save a little bit of fuel, see if they can get themselves a little bit deeper in the race, maybe conserve some tyres as well. So there's 2 ways that the draft is gonna work. Because wow, Myers is in a rocket ship this evening. What's a 4-second lead doing this early on the race?
A little bit of advantage there for him for getting out quickly, because he's not had to battle on cold tyres with anyone else, which always hurts the starts of these races when you're trying to not only contend with a car that doesn't want to stop and a car that doesn't want to turn, but you've also got to contend with other drivers really close to you in cars that don't want to stop and don't want to turn. So the advantage there for him in getting out and getting away early and cleanly, missing all the carnage. And equally, the driver that was in 2nd place did get taken out by that car that unfortunately ran off through the infield and ended up pushing him out into the gravel trap. So a couple of bits of luck there for Brady Myers, but a well-deserved lead early on in this race.
Yep, so now his eyes will be managing that. What does he expect to be a good margin? I think he'd probably set his eyes on about 10 seconds, and from 10 seconds onwards, he'll go into management mode because he'll have more than enough buffer to basically control what he wants to do throughout the rest of the race. So strategy will fall in his hands. Now, I was hearing a little bit of chatter back and forth. It looks like Brady McHugh might have gotten punted from behind and might have gotten pushed into Jack Boyd, and
that's what started out all of the damage. Understand? Yeah, that can happen, unfortunately. So rubbing is racing, but certainly not that kind in the start of one of these fields.
Oh, look, and I mean, from McHugh's point of view as well. Hang on.
Just let you listen through that there, as Jeff Connell is now the fastest man on the track with an identical fastest time to Brady Myers. Both drivers there doing a 1:41.88. So Connell now trying to create a margin between himself and Matty Corleone, our current series second place sitter, my apologies, on points. So he will have his hands full for a majority of the night if he cannot create a gap away from himself. And to my mind as well, another really strong performer early in this race, Ian McMahon, as you pointed out, did a really good job to move his BMW up to 11th spot in qualifying, really late in qualifying, and another benefit of keeping clean early part. He's up a whopping 7 spots as well, currently into 4th position on the grid.
Yeah, I think from McMahon's point of view, again, I'd like to see him just go into conservation mode. Maybe he didn't have the one-lap pace that some of the other drivers around him did, but who needs one-lap pace if you can make it last over a stint? Race control, I believe, was giving Trent Laves just a warning over something that happened at corner 1 on lap 3. So Laves has already been said, hey, let's settle it down, let's get ourselves back under a little bit of cleaner circumstances. So you'll have to keep an eye on him, and I think any further conversations with the stewards are not going to go in his favour.
As we did just catch on board there, him getting past Michael Spithill in one of the few Ferraris on track. In fact, one of only 3 Ferraris on track at this point in time. So he'll be trying. He knows he is quicker than potentially a number of the drivers in front of him. So the real challenge for him tonight is to manage his way back through the field. And he's done a really good job of that, actually, over the last couple of weeks, in terms of he has had some offs early on in races and still managed to get back up onto the podium just with head down, bum up style, consistent driving. So expect to see that from him tonight. Don't expect to see him that far down the field for too much longer, albeit he's got to get past some pretty strong drivers before he gets up there, as we see him putting in a move on Daniel Webster down the inside, not quite up far enough on that corner. Webster running out onto the dirt and not able to defend either. So another clean pass for Laves as he heads to try and attack Brad Klink in that Ford GT that he is trying to tackle in this series.
Yep, so good little recovery drive, nice and early from the green and silver. That's actually a really, really pretty car there from Laves. And nice and easy to spot as well, so it'll be pretty easy to keep your eyes on as he starts to make his way up through the field so far this evening. So, quick look through the timing sheets. 141.86, the only man to dip into the 141 so far is our race leader, Brady Myers. Jeff Connell's fastest lap. Sorry, I apologise, 141.88. Those are the only 2 men to do a 141, and Myers' fastest lap of the race came on his last lap, so I'm keen to see what times he's about to turn out. So 142.09, right. So him and Connell are nearly matching lap times,
lap for
albeit
lap.
on similar laps. Connell goes back into the 141, so
unbelievable.
Myers has got his work cut out for him.
And Matty Corleone doing what he can to try and attach himself onto the back of this. He's created a small gap over a new man to the series. Dennis Gitarik will jump on board in him as he is defending his position from that fast-charging Ian McMahon that we were talking about, who he, with his teammate Glenn Firth, driving like a flyer. And he's all over the back of the Ford here trying to put the hurry on. Just sticking the car out down the inside to suggest, hey, I'm here, and Dennis, if you're not going to get on with it, mate, I am, so get out of my way, as McMahon tries to look again for another way down the inside there. And I'd suggest there's actually been a pass just very recently for that position, as I just noticed there, McMahon's got the 4 in his windscreen, which means he was in 4th place, so perhaps it is Gitarik with the quicker, faster lap by just on half a second, who is actually the mover and shaker in this little battle pack.
Yep, so race control actually to get back to us whilst you were going through everything there, Stuart, about the incident on lap number 1 going into turn number 5. No further action is necessary. It was a racing incident, so they're going to leave it as that. It's obviously impacted a few drivers, but not much they can really do about it now. Both drivers going for it hot and heavy in the early laps, and, well, unfortunately, sometimes that is racing.
And certainly race control do a very, very difficult job. So if that's their decision, then that is fine. They would have looked back over the footage and seen that. But I guarantee you there will be some aggrieved drivers at the end of this race until they watch the replay, feeling that they have certainly been wronged. We will have to see and have a listen and bring you some of that stuff later on. I'm still on with Trent Lavis here, or we're still on with Trent Lavis here as he tries to hunt down Brad Clank. I was just watching because he was still battling a little bit with Daniel Webster there, but that gap has opened up to just on a second as the pack starts to settle. Let's have a look further down the timing grid, because we try to as much as we can, and sometimes in these early parts of the races we can miss some battles that are going on, like this one right here. We've got Sam Lehman, Matty Gray, and just in front of them we've got good old Frank Kodak, who does all of the awesome design work, including that fantastic the Bend Motorsport Park BMW he rocks around in. We're fortunate enough that he's joined us. We'll just jump on board with Frank while we talk about him there, as there was a pass there by Lehman over Gray. But he's joined us as well in the AEE series, and the livery on the Porsche that he's running is probably one of the best I've ever seen. So if you do join us on a Thursday night for that series, running next Thursday, not the one coming, have an eye out for Hodak's car, because it's a checker plate looking design with different colours. I can't do it justice by trying to describe it, but very talented in the design stakes, and doing a good job here in 16th spot, up 6 spots from his qualifying position in 22nd place.
And it's a pretty car as well, just so eye-catching. The blacks, it all blends really, really nicely together. Now, trying to keep an eye out right down the field. Webster's still trying to attach himself to the rear end of Trent Laves. Guterres is still forcing himself and forcing the issue with Matthew Cartellini. So it looks like our leaders have got a little bit of gap towards them. And then third, fourth, well, it's still a contest, still anyone's ball game. Sam Thurtell and Adam Bolton right now neck and neck. And I tell you what, Kuznetsov has just gone past Thurtell, so something may have happened there.
Yeah, it didn't get any notification other than that he went by. So if there was only a slight bump or something of the like, if it happened, as Kuznetsov is currently down 7 spots, getting involved, unfortunately, in that early tussle. So Thurtell about half a second back from him. I was just jumping on board as well while we're looking through the field with Jack Boyd, our was third on the grid at the start of the race, and had to serve go through the pit lane early on, not for a penalty, but just from some of the carnage early on. He's currently in 23rd, but the reason I've jumped on board with him is he is faster than every car in front of him up to and including 4th spot on his last lap. So he is definitely one to keep an eye on. He's through the bad luck, actually into not a bad position, because he's now got clear air in front of him. He's not being challenged as much by Glenn Boyd behind him, and it means he can get his head down and go to work to try and address the gap for an overlap in pit lane strategy late on in the race.
Well, let's take a little segue there from actually talking about Jack Boyd. Update from Brady McHugh. He's called it. That's it. He's done. He's left the server. So there will be no more action from his vehicle this evening. Now, we were talking about strategy in the pre-show. Something we didn't consider is potentially there being a 2-stopper. Who's that off the road?
Brad Clank there, just running wide on the last corner. It looks like it's damaged the rear wing of that GT40.
I was about to say, that is not a straight-looking rear wing on that Ford GT. Yeah, so if we do end up that a 2-stopper is not only good for pace, good for tyres, then if this was a 40-degree race and we were looking somewhere between 40 to 50 degrees, as it currently is in Spain, in the middle of summer, well, they're coming towards the back end of summer, August is the last month of summer over there, you would expect, I would say, they'd probably split into the thirds and go 2-stop race would be best to maintain the pace and give yourself a fighting chance. Otherwise, you'd be really struggling on tyres. Not so. Track temperature is a nice and mild 23 degrees Celsius. So tyre wear shouldn't be an issue. There was someone off the road there. Was that Hodak, or was that... It looks like it might have been Webster.
Yeah, it was. It was Daniel Webster there, just off track.
Well, he needs to get the head down, and thing about an hour and 45-minute race is it's about mistake management. You can be a slower car and find yourself on the podium if the leaders just over push. So I was actually taking a bit of a chat about my own driving habits today with Stuart just before we jumped on air. One of the first things I said to myself in the NASCAR race this morning was mistake management, mistake management, mistake management. You know you're quick. All you got to do is just keep it on the circuit. I failed to do that, and I fell a long, long way down behind where I should have finished. That is my omen for these guys tonight. If you can just manage those mistakes, manage those errors, as McMahon was looking for a margin there on Guitaric, seeing if you could make the overtake go. There was nothing there. Have a look down the inside again at turn 5. Guitaric's managed to make the car nice and pointy coming off turn 4. Got a really sharp exit and off onto turn 5 and didn't make that margin. I'll tell you what, it's going to be on at the back end of the straight though.
Yeah, absolutely. As we jump on the front of the McMahon BMW here, just to see, this is one of the best corners in motorsport, I reckon. Flat out around there when you get it right, and on the gas all the way down the straight here to just after the 100 board in these cars on the anchors, and slowing down there and getting it done around the left hand here. Keep it going as we head up into the flip-flop. Just got to be patient on the throttle there as that cone, we've had another cone taken out. What did we call them last week? The victims of motorsport, cones everywhere, and taking a lot of the inner edge there, which you can do when there's no chicane for you to get through, and then back around onto the main straight. So the GT still straight, still quick in a straight line is what I actually intended to say, and not able to get the job done there at McMahon or to close the gap up.
The other thing I was actually going to note from what both of these drivers were doing as well, it looks like Guitaric is making the in the early phases of the corner, because he seems to gain about a tenth every single corner on exit. So the lines that he's driving to make this Ford GT quick, he might be a little bit slow and a little bit vulnerable in braking zones, but he is so strong on the corner exit that he's making it up for it. And I reckon that's where you'll see Ian McMahon attack him. I don't think he's going to have the pace to attack him down a straightaway. I think it's going to be in the braking zones.
Yeah, and as you say, the Ford probably needs to stop harder to get into the turn that can then carry more mid-corner and exit speed, which allows him, albeit to be vulnerable, into the corner to drive out of the corner and protect himself. So,
well, I mean, it's a bigger car. I mean, you can see that on probably one of the battles to have a look, probably the pros and cons of car selection. Look at how tiny that BMW is, but it's a little bit taller. It's a lot more your standard road-going sedan-styled car. Ford, it's got such a long wheelbase in comparison. You know what that means? It is so much more effort to get the car to pivot, because it's got a lot more that it needs to get that car to rotate. The car's longer wheelbase, much harder to get the car to turn.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's unusual actually. We've all seen the memes of the enormous BMWs in the background of tiny little cars in front of them, particularly if you follow GT circles. But the M4, the Z4 is a little bit of a difference there. Normally we're used to commentating the M8, which basically is a roadblock on the track, and against
right call for it,
against its competitors. But the Z4 is quite a nimble little package. Definitely. You know what? I'm glad. I say it every week, and there's a lot of BMWs in this series at the moment, and it's partly because, as we just see, unfortunately, Guitaric running a little wide, but McMahon not close enough to take any advantage of it. But there's a lot of BMWs in this series because of the way that the balance of power is weighted in the series, making them not in the series by iRating. This is a fixed setup series, but in iRacing, the balance they put onto that car has it as the fastest car at the moment. But you can see, Matty Corleone, there's no amount of BOP that adjusts for good driver skill and ability. Guitaric here doing a good job in 4th, Corleone in 3rd, and in fact Corleone second on the championship standings behind Trent Lavis in that BMW. And then we've got Jack Boyd in 3rd place, and he's running a BMW. So it's it still comes down to driver at the end of the day, but good to see a little bit of variety at the front of the field.
Couple of things I'm sort of looking at this point in time.
Brad Klink there, sorry, just making a big move getting 2 or 3 spots in one corner in that GT, so doing a good job there to go past Matty Gray and Frank Hodak and move himself back up in to 16th spot. But getting on it here, he's being real aggressive. He's just gone past Thurtell as well. That's 3 spots in basically a corner and a half. Good racing from Brady Clink.
Yeah, he's on it, but have a look at the bent up BMW. I just looking at that, it's Hodak. I can tell you that for a fact. I'm wondering whether or not Hodak and Clink got caught up together. Because if you have a look at where the injuries to their car, for lack of better word, are, it's on the front. Although there's no rear end damage to Clink, so maybe we did see Clink off the road. I'm wondering whether there's been a collision though between Clink and Hodak.
Well, there's one thing that is for sure. He has the bit between his teeth, and he is off and charging Brad Clink. So 5 seconds faster than Sam Thurtell through that last lap. So that's almost unheard of in GT racing without some sort of incident. But a big pack of cars generally results in one thing, which is a pack of problems for at least 1 or 2 of them, and that's what's happened there. Luke Bergens.
Is it just me, or is there some paint being applied to the front end, just behind the left front tyre? So it looks like a few of our drivers are actually getting the... Did anyone tell these guys that the race is nearly 2 hours long?
No, not at all. And you can see there's also damage on the back of his car. So that McLaren's been in the wars a little bit there with someone Morse code by the look of it on the back of it. And
I was going to say, if you can't pass them on pace, make your way pass happen. Apparently, seems to be the slogan for the night.
And also there with some damage, as you pointed out, just behind that left-hand wheel, and even on the left-hand rear. So I actually wonder if he's had an off, because I was just looking at the damage on the back of that car. It's quite high up, and unless someone's running around in one of these sports trucks or stadium trucks, I'd say he's rotated that and clipped a wall or something at some part of the track, just given the damage there on that back corner of the car.
I'll tell you what, aren't they a fun handful to drive, the stadium trucks? Ooh. I think they're probably one of the best cars on iRacing.
It's probably the only time, in fact it is the only time when I've been driving in VR that I felt ill after driving. So they're fun, but they're not my cup of tea. Overall, I'd much prefer to sit in the rig and run 6 hours at Road America or something like that. So then do that. But no, they are good, and they're good to watch, particularly in real life as well. Quite the spectacle. So we're back on board here with Guitaric, still in 4th, still holding out Ian McMahon.
I think look, to be perfectly honest, this battle is... I reckon this one won't be decided for probably another 45 minutes, so it's going to be worthwhile. Keep checking back in on these guys every couple of laps just to see where things are going. But Gatarek looks like he's put maybe half a second, 0.4 of a second over McMahon at this phase in the tyre stint. Whether McMahon's maybe just conserving a little bit and keen and content to run in the draft a little bit, got a little bit wide the corner exit there for just half a moment. He's wide there again.
McMahon gets real wide.
Maybe he's pushing. Maybe it's the other way around.
What have we got going on with the track temperatures? Are they going up? The track is starting to grip up.
Stable. 23 degrees Celsius. Absolutely nothing's happened.
That is paradise at Catalunya. 23 degrees. I only wish it was 23 degrees when we were doing the Enduros there. My goodness.
I was just going to say, Catalunya's not too far from the coast of the Iberian Peninsula, from memory.
And you know what this has done is it's allowed the Guitaric McMahon battle to be joined by Firth, as we're on board at the moment with Paul Chapman back in 18th place. Still in this battle with Hodak in front of him and Brady Buchanan in the Charlie Unicorn sponsored BMW behind him. So yeah, you're not wrong. That BMW looking a little bit second-hand there for Kodak. That's definitely not how he designed that one, I can tell you. Is that Zappos Racing? Zapdos.
Is that a unicorn on the front of his car?
Yeah, it's Charlie the Unicorn.
Oh my god! I remembered you saying something about that the other week. Actually, I was looking at timing monitors, I think, all that week, and never really got to embrace it. So that's gorgeous.
Charlie.
And then Hodak, well, Hodak's decided that apparently he's driving a rally things at the moment.
Yeah, he's struggling with that one, but the front of that car is very...
One sec. Hodak's actually just made a call to race control. So something might have happened to him just there.
Hodak passed, Paul Chapman passed. Just having a look back there, and I can't see anything to tell me what's going on there.
It's just that he was off track, that's it.
Let's jump on with Sam Lehman here, who's still giving Brad Clink a hurry along. If you can keep a listen out for what happens there with the Hodak incident, just so that we can keep the viewers informed about what's going on with that one, because it was unusual to see him dropping down the timing monitor as quickly as he was, as he's into pit lane now as well. So he will not be a happy man inside that virtual helmet, that is for sure.
I was thinking for a little bit of content as well. It might be well to set the helmet on one day this week and turn the old stream on, point the camera in there. Have you ever wanted to go racing at home, sim racer with a helmet on at all, Stuart?
No, not at all, because I can't fit the VR goggles behind my helmet.
Right, because you're racing VR, yeah.
So no, I basically go racing with a helmet on all the time, and sometimes I just sit there with the headphones and the VR on, not racing at all, just to get a couple of moments to myself. So, you know, you just sometimes you got to do what you got to do. This battle here is saying that it's very close, but it's actually gapped out a little bit now, as you suggested, with Mick, with Firth falling away a little bit, as we see.
Tell you what,
a little bit of movement here as well. What's going on there? There's some issues with our timing board. So Jeff Connell, where's he gone?
You're 100% right. Where has Connell gone?
He has, I would say, unfortunately, succumbed to the internet bug, because he has disappeared off our timing monitor, as we just saw some changes for the lead.
I'm actually not showing any notifications from him. He's popped back out. Sorry, he has popped back out. He's sliding down the list again.
No, I'd say he's got internet issues, unfortunately for him, and as you can see there, we're on screen with him and he is not there. So that's disappointing for him as he slides down the list. What it does, though, is move this man, Matty Corleone, up into second spot. And
Gadaric is going to move up a slot.
Look at our top three. BMW, Mercedes, Ford.
How good is that? How good is that to actually see a split? Something I was looking at just in the background of Glenn Firth's shot was Bergens. Bergens is currently +9 spots, so he is definitely... Jeff Connell has just disconnected from the server due to bad connection.
Yeah,
so not him manually disconnecting, he's actually packets and server quality has actually caused him to be kicked from the server automatically by the iRacing server. So I doubt we'd see him take much further part in this evening's race. So that place swapping at the front has now been confirmed as permanent. So back to what I was saying. Luke Bergens up 9 positions in the super. You got to call it Supercharger Award. You can't call it anything else, really.
Well, yeah, but have a look at Michael Spithill.
That's what I was just about to say as well. +18 in the Ferrari. So it's our alternative car choice people this evening that seem to be doing all the work in the positive section of the timesheets.
Yeah, and that Hard Charger Award brought to us by Peninsula Transfer, so thank you to them for being on board with this series and rewarding these drivers for making their way through the pack and giving us something to look at. So
they're not a moving company, are they, Stuart? You said something about moving companies last week?
No, they're not a removalist. Well, I haven't come up with my advertising slogan for this week for us to look into, but no, Peninsula Transfers not they, I believe, are a waste transfer business, so no, definitely not, but bring us the Peninsula Transfers Hard Charger Award, which, interestingly enough, Michael Spithill, part of the Redback race team, that award last week taken out by Sebastian Murray Westberg. So I believe it's actually a cumulative award, kind of like the points table. So it's not about 1 week charging; it's about charging all the time. So it's it's going to be an interesting one to see as that plays out across the season, who potentially can do the most from the back of the grid. As we're still on board here with Matty Cordileone. He's a busy man at the moment. He is running in the AEST series as well. He's doing a bit of IndyCar running as well. So making the most of his off time during the COVID closures where he can't actually race his real race car. So, and doing a great job of it.
I was just having a quick look. Peninsula Transfers is airport shuttle service.
Well, there you go.
So there you go. Getting used to the airport so you can fly off to your destination. Perfect time to have a look at Matty Gray with the Peninsula Transfers logo on the car.
Absolutely,
so,
why we did it.
Looking for a transfer up the leaderboards. Currently, Michael Spithill is the one that's transferring his way to the top.
And good on them for getting on board. They will do with business at the moment, certainly with the issues with the travel restrictions. So, if you are looking for a lift to the airport, Peninsula Transfers are the ones to use when all of that reopens, and I'm sure they would thank you for their business.
In the meantime, if you're bored and you're at home and you want to see some car racing, Peninsula Transfers logo on Matty Gray's. Oh man, that is a pretty car. I tell you what, you can't paint one of these things in a more modernized paint scheme. It doesn't work. You need to have a throwback livery for it to really all come together.
Yeah, I reckon you're right. Absolutely, and that's where that is at. Obviously, using the Peninsula Transfer colour scheme, but it really suits the car that he has picked. Looks like he's running the wire wheels on that one too, so albeit wire wheels with the knock-on, so albeit not that effective as a racing wheel. Certainly on a simulator, definitely able to be done. Too much flex.
Cosmetic only.
Too much flex. Just searching down here, Simon Lartner has pulled up and backwards pulled up on the straight there, so not ideal for him. He will be looking for a place to do a quick U-turn if he can. Might look a bit funny reversing back up the straight. I don't know if he's done that to give us a better look at him or not, but it certainly helped us out there as he's done a quick U-turn on the place where you're not allowed to park, and I'm sure there are no U-turn signs as well, but he's managed to get that done and get back underway. He'll pull that thing into the pits. It's got a little bit of damage on the right-hand side there. They have called a yellow flag. First one of these we have seen. So there is no requirement for yellow flags in this one, not like in NASCAR or oval track racing or something like that, where generally as soon as someone sneezes they call a yellow flag. Here they're doing it, I think, probably just to let the cars and the field regroup a bit after a couple of laps where we've seen some incidents involving Frank Hodak and certainly that U-turn on the main straight by Simon Lartner, the yellow flag helping that.
I was just looking as well in the background. It looks like Glenn Boyd's car is a little bit beaten up as well. So drivers I'd be looking at right now that take the opportunity to dive through the pit lane as anyone with scratches on their car. So I'm looking at Bergens, who had all those little paint scrubbings all over his car. Hodak we were mentioning. Who else were we looking at as well?
Just running back there, that was an incident. That is clearly not an incident. So not getting much of a notification on the replay screen there for the cause of that yellow flag. So sorry about that changeover there being quite loud. We did dial it down after some feedback last week, but it's still too loud. So apologies for that one. We'll try and turn the volume down on the stream before we do any more replay action. So what does this mean? Tell us. This is our first yellow flag in any of our coverage in circuit racing. So what's going to happen here? What are we going to see?
Field condense. Good news is for anyone that may have been overheating their tyres off. For those guys where their tyres at a really nice operating temperature, well, bad luck. You're going to heat them up again. Is going to be the way to look at it. I was just listening to there was an absolute flurry of driver chat as the caution was actually thrown. Glenn Boyd had a lot of damage to his car, so he was given an end of line penalties. So when the safety car has caught the field all the way back up, the systems in place will be shuffling Glenn to the rear of the field. Brad Clank was actually about to run out of fuel. Pit lane is closed right now, so Brad Clank has had to go down the pit lane with a closed pits. At this stage, it looks like he'll end up with a black flag for that.
Yeah, he'll get a stop-go for that, unfortunately for him. But if he's going to run out of fuel, it's quicker to get the black flag under the yellow car than run out of fuel and get a tow. So, so this rear of field, explain that to the viewers. Why would they do that?
Short fuel, he's looking at a two-stropper.
No. The rear of grid.
Sorry, driver's chat's right over the top of you right now. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, you're right. Is it anything interesting? What are they talking about?
Nothing huge. Only that Glenn was struggling to keep up to pace, which is why he was given the end of field. Not much other stuff. I actually want to listen back in. Hodak is actually talking at the moment.
While they're doing that and you're getting an update, we might just quickly throw to our ad while we're on the caution. We'll keep talking and just mute the music on the intermission there. So you just see there Brady Myers, our race leader, heading into the pit lane now. It is open, and I bet you he will be followed by a flurry of cars. He certainly is. Corteleone, Guitaric, Ian McMahon, Bergens, Firth, Bartholomew, Spithill staying out, Lavis in, Wang in, Kuznetsov in, Lehman, Gray, Thurtle. So half the field in pit lane. That does move our effective race leader to Stephen Bartholomew, who is not ducking into pit lane. So adjusted race lead will not change there, but you can see we have 5 cars out on track at the moment as the pit lane is open during this safety car period.
Something else that's also happened on lap 15, there was an incident between car 58 and car 7. So that was Hodak
and Paul Chapman.
Yes, and it was marked as a racing incident. So that could have been the cause for all the damage over Hodak's car. So that's an interesting one to keep an eye on. Pit lane had opened on that last lap, so one sec.
So what we're checking for there is whether or not it is Brad Klink going to get a drive-through penalty for pulling into pit lane, almost running out of fuel.
He should be given an end of line. That's normally the penalty coming from NASCAR, which is the most common time that you'll actually see that sort of penalty applied is entering a closed pits, generally because NASCARs are the ones that receive open lobby.
Yeah, circuit racing, sometimes though it's a black flag. You'll get a drive-through penalty, or you get a stop-go penalty for entering pit lane when it's closed. So more likely that in this situation with the GT racing, but depending on the series organisers, you're right, they might give you just
manual lobbies with an actual race controller. Obviously, the caution flag can get thrown.
That's it. Yeah, you're right.
Closed pits. They're just debating well, not debating, they were just seeking a clarification on restart procedure. Clarification on restart procedure is that Clink's still having some issues with his form up. So I'll have to keep an eye on that one. The procedure for the restart here is that all drivers are to stay in single file, stay under pacing sort of conditions until the green flag actually goes. So there should be no overlaps or anything coming out of the last corner. You'll be waiting for that until the basically the green flag will actually come out on circuit.
Yeah. So on board with Steve Bartholomew, our effective race leader. Having said that, he is down behind a couple of other cars, so not 100% sure what's going on with our timing screen here. He is indicated as the race leader, but yeah.
Well, that's correct. That'd be a swath of lap cars. They did say they as well that they were wave rounds. So we actually got Jeff Connell managed to get back into the server and asked if there was going to be wave rounds. When they said no, he opted out again and said, look, I'm already too many laps down, it's not worth it, I'm not going to get any bonus points without getting the wave rounds, potentially a chance to get back on the lead lap.
As we just see Bartholomew pull into the pit there with Spit Hill right behind him. And
that's interesting. Why would you not do that on the first lap?
No idea at all. So we what I don't understand as well is that, yeah, here we go here, because I was just watching the lights were out on the pace car, so I was expecting it to go green. The order here is going to readjust itself, so we'll try and jump on board with the race leader here as we're on with Glenn Firth down the inside, who is indicated as our race leader at this point in time. What that means is he's lapping cars as we speak, and right on the inside there of Frank Hodak, who is trying not to go a lap down, but now he is being absolutely mauled by the pack of cars behind him. And
it's so difficult for Hodak in this sort of a position as well, because you want to fight, you want to maintain that track position that keeps you on the lead lap, but at the same time, it's not your battle. It's not, you're in two minds really at that point in time.
And we've got Hayden Jackson just up in front of them here as well. He will need to unfortunately make way as a huge dive down the inside by Bergens there. Just getting lucky to manage to keep that clean as he pulled that car through. Probably more luck from his point of view and good awareness from Brady Myers to give him that room to allow that to transpire. Both drivers ending up still getting out the other side with clean cars. So we've got Firth from Myers from Bergens at the restart.
I was just about to say Jackson and Hodak are going to cause absolute trip-ups. So right now, your goal, if you're towards the front of this track, Bergens is really struggling to get that car pulled up on cold tyres.
He's run wide. He's actually run wide. Yeah, he's run wide there, so he's going to slide down the grid as the pack comes through. I was just highlighting what you were exactly talking about there with Hodak doing everything he can to try and get out of the way and not damage his own race in the process. So,
but without losing time, because that's the crucial thing.
That's absolutely right.
He's in 20th, 21st spot, right around there at this point in time, and there's basically a whole lap to the cars ahead of him that he's effectively racing for position. So right now, he's not trying to push, but he's also not trying to lose time, because that's the worst possible thing that can happen. And
and he's also battling with Adam. He's also battling with Adam Bolton right behind him for position. So we've got a race going on within a race here with Frank in 22nd, Hayden in 23rd, right in the middle of the battle for basically 7th through 15th in front of them. So
and Bolton's right there in the picture as well. In the
look at this swathe of cars trying to make their way through. Oh, this is fantastic. I know it's not great because it's from a restart and the drivers probably won't be enjoying it all that much themselves, feeling that they're being held up here. But I can tell you what, Hodak's not holding anyone up. He's doing a really good job of it. So making room where he can make room without affecting his race completely. And the responsibility, albeit there'll be a blue flag, the responsibility is with the passing car to pass the lapped car safely. So that needs to be borne in mind as well. And Hodak's not that much slower than the cars he is around. He is just unfortunately going to go a lap down.
Super important is keeping a cool head.
Absolutely.
These guys start to let...
Oh, I knew that was there. It's just turned across, unfortunately, in front of him there. And there's a bump, and we've got a little bit of extra action going back through the field there. As that was not Brad Klink, that was Stephen Bartholomew, unfortunately.
Bergens is into him again!
Bergens is going in again. There is going to be... Oh, and we've got another one off as well, as I think that was Matty Cartaglione. That has huge ramifications for the championship. That is not great at all. Yeah, Jeff, we saw that, unfortunately, mate. That's not a great outcome for you. We were on your team, and you just unfortunately had some bad luck there. So... regulations say there's waiver rounds, but guys decided not to do them for tonight for some reason. Interesting. I am sure that there'll be some questions raised about that in the post-race. We will see.
What we've just seen unfold on the track is what waiver rounds are there to remove from
Absolutely.
like Hodak's race. Hodak was trying to do his job for what he was trying to do on the race, and he's surrounded by cars that are faster than. If he moves out of the way, forget it. He's going to lose a lap to the entire field, right? So he's got a responsibility to protect his own race. Lavez has just been handed a black flag.
Oh wow. Really? Where and you know what? That's it. Really? What? I wonder what for. I've got no.
I think that was for the contact with Hodak.
Okay. I didn't see Lavez
pretty sure
involved in that.
Because it was a green and silver car that was up the inside of Hodak. We were watching it.
Yeah, I was focused, unfortunately, on Matty Corleone being turned around as well in that incident. So I didn't catch that, but we can't even go back to a replay on it because it has not triggered an event on our timing monitor here. So I don't have anything to do with Lavez at all, other than when he went past Jack Boyd at the restart. So yeah, interesting. We'll have to ask about that one later on. As you see, Lavez, they're pulling in straight away as our main man Scotty Rankin called to serve that black flag that he has incurred. How's this man, Matty Corleone, getting on after his spin around in 14th? Currently second in our championship, so this will have big implications for his outcome, as well as Jack Boyd is currently up in 4th, the man chasing him down, so that will close the gap there. Around about 90 points between these two drivers if things stay the way that they are.
Well, that's something to consider as well. You know, would be the huge winner out of everything there? All the guys that went off in the early phases of the race. So Boyd was a big winner. Lavez is going to come out right on top of Carter Leone, and these spots at this point in time as well. So,
well, they're first and second in the championship. So really, Jack Boyd is the massive winner because he's miles in front of the two people leading this championship.
Oh man, look. I hate to be the kind of guy that says there's going to be words exchanged midweek, but I mean, you were watching the same bit of action that I was watching. You move those lap cars out of the way by giving them a wave around there. And, oh man.
And as Jack Boyd just moves up into 3rd position and gets the job done on Jeffrey Wang there, but Jeffrey Wang fighting straight back and getting his position back. But yeah, it's interesting as well, particularly if what Jeff Connells dropped in our chat is correct. If it is in the regulations, and I will have a look at that while we are talking on this one at the moment.
It's important to have in every broadcast somebody who's a rules man.
Yeah, well, I don't want to be Neil Crompton, but you know, at the end of the day, someone's got to do the job of being the boring fart on the commentary team. So I will. What do we got here? No, Crompto's actually all right. I like the V8 coverage with him.
I love it when he brings it up because it's always interesting to hear his input on it. Because with any rule book, and again, coming from my background of handling racing regulations and those sorts of things, there's interpretations of the rules. And Crompo does a really good job of pointing out both sides of the argument. Now, the argument from the sake of the guys, the wave arounds are there. I don't even think it's not an interpretations thing. It should just be used. It's a safety thing. And
you know, go on.
No, I want to know what you've got to say because you're looking for it.
Well, I was going to say as well, there's another thing that we need to talk about in this too, which I did see questions being raised during the week about the overlap and corner rights rules within the regulations. So, and I just cut across it here while I was looking for safety car and the safety car procedure, which I've also found. But it says here, if a car has sufficient overlap at the turn-in point of the corner, then cornering room must be given by both cars to allow the cars to take the corner together. That explains why Lavez got that caution in the early part of the race. It then says sufficient overlap, or overlap is defined as having any part of your front wheels alongside the rear wheels of the car ahead. The following car has the right to its established line anytime it has overlap. Leading or defending cars must yield this right to the road. So, if you looked at that in the literal sense, it says any part of the front wheel alongside the rear wheel. So if the slightest portion of the tyre on the leading edge of that tyre is alongside that rear wheel, then the driver in the lead car must yield and that is a very difficult thing for them to judge in the car, because there's no distinction. You cannot see that back corner of the car, so perhaps there a little bit of a question raised. In terms of the wave through, it does say where a safety car is deployed, cars are to line up in a single file to the left-hand side of the track behind the safety car to allow for waved through traffic. Interesting.
It doesn't mention anything about the wave around specifically. It says that there's an allowance for it, but it doesn't mention anything particular.
Correct.
So race control are actually within their rights. Unless there is a specific rule stating wave arounds therefore are at race control's discretion, is the way that I read that. If race control opts against that discretion, and after tonight they'll opt, you'd have to be a little bit silly to not opt in along the line of using your discretion in future. But I look, when a league's growing like this, sometimes you have to go through, and we're experiencing it obviously with broadcast and growing pains and teething issues and working out what's the best way to do things. Sometimes you've got to make the mistake before everybody goes, all right, no problem, we tried it, it didn't work, lesson learned, move on. So if I'm in race control's shoes, I'd like to just make a few notes in the book, go, yep, let's put wave rounds in there permanently and just run with it.
Yeah, and I think particularly given the situation we were in, where we had 3 slower cars right at the front of the field, with basically first through 8th, who are not first through 8th.
Ian McMahon just got a drive-through penalty for an unsafe rejoin.
Interesting. Okay, we'll see.
As did, by the look of things, Luke Bergens.
Bergen's passed Trent Levis. We'll just bring that up on a replay. Sorry about the noise here. See if there was anything in any of this.
Bergens pulled in and then disconnected.
Nothing at all there. Yeah, so obviously not happy with the with the decision, if that is the case, and he has disconnected.
That doesn't seem like him. I'd rather see him.
Yeah, and he has. He's jumped out there as we jump into pit lane. That's annoying because he is my man. He's the one that I like to follow around. So we'll get over the disappointment of that one for ourselves. Maybe there's something innocent. So we'll leave that one alone until we find out more information about it. Vossi in the chat has brought up that there were wave rounds in the Phillip Island round. Vossi, I had forgotten that there was a fair bit of confusion at round 1. However, in terms of black flag clearing and a whole heap of other issues as well. So as we've established, it is basically at the discretion of race control. So we'll be interested, we'll try and bring it to you during the week as to why they decided in this instance not to let those 3 cars at the front of the field through and rejoin the back of the grid, and effectively let this man and those others around him at the restart take over. Particularly as well, in my mind, the only way I would look at it, and as I said, I wouldn't want to be a race steward if I was paid to do it. It's a very difficult. You never get you don't ever get a decision where everyone's happy with the outcome. So it's one of those thankless jobs, like being an accountant, where no one likes the accountant that chases you for money, other than the business that you're chasing the money for. So it's a difficult job.
You up there, Stuart? We've had threats at our family. My dad's a steward, and my mother is a race secretary. So 3 of the major events need to run a motorcycling event: race secretary, clerk of the course, and steward in ascending order of power over the event. Without any of those 3, I'm not present at any time. The race meeting has to be paused until they return to before you can actually return to racing. So it's not easy. Can say with experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So they'll just look on.
Not to show bias is the other thing.
Yeah, so they'll just look on from this and go, okay, cool. Maybe next time we need to look at, who are the cars behind these lead 3. If it's literally in lap pace order prior to the safety car, then we need to make the call to let those slower cars out the front. Otherwise, we risk a debacle. And Vossi makes a good point as well there in the Twitch chat that Phillip Island was a little bit messy, and that's what you were talking about when you're referring to those teething issues. You get a new pack of drivers racing for the first time, there's always going to be incidents as they get used to driving with one another or racing with one another at race pace. No matter how much practice you do, you don't get the real simulation that you do when you're running a race. So I'm sure they'll keep working on it. This series is fantastic, so they'll get it right.
They will. I mean, you got to be a monkey really to make a mistake and not look to learn from it. But and I from basically the general gist and the general feeling that I get from the guys in these field, which and I've largely put that through to race control as well, is that improvements are constantly being made to something in its early phases. So look, criticism and complaints aside, they're doing a tough job, and heads down and best of luck to them. And all that we want from a pundit, because you got to remember at the end of the day, we're just pundits. That's all we are. We are just people attempting to make a comment on the race, and that is our job to make comment on the race. And sometimes it's against the race stewards. Sometimes we've got to make comments that's against the race drivers, and this time we're going to side on the race drivers.
Yeah, absolutely, and Boss is right. The guys that run this series are doing a fantastic job. So good that they're participants as well. There's been a fair bit of open feedback, which they've taken on board, and as I said, it's starting to address those issues. I can't see with all of the series that we're involved in, I can't see this series doing anything but getting stronger. Particularly with the quality, the quality of the drivers that are in the field already. With a lot of these blokes only virtually picking up a sim rig, over the last couple of months, the pace and the how good the close racing is better than some fields that are full of guys that have been racing for years. It's true. It's true.
Yeah, but I don't claim to be anywhere to be at this sort of pace.
And that's why, and that's another good segue. We love using segue. I caused a pile up when my rig fell apart and doing a wave around. Wow.
Segue into segue?
It was a segue into one of our sponsors, Virtual Motorsport Mentor. So if you are looking to get better at your craft, as Chris Purnell says, even the champions have a coach. He may not have coined that phrase, but he certainly uses it, and he's dead right. So if you are looking to get faster at sim racing, we definitely look to Chris Purnell and the team at Virtual Motorsport Mentor to help that happen. So they do individual coaching, group coaching sessions. So if you're running a series in a team, Chris can jump into just about any car and go just about as fast as you need to be competitive. So if you're looking for that, jump onto his website, virtualmotorsportmentor.com, and book a session, and just let Chris know that the guys at FGM ECast sent you.
I tell you what, wouldn't it be funny if somebody from tonight's racing sent a coupon for a lesson with the wrist to race control?
Yeah, I don't know that they'd take to that too kindly, to be brutally honest, even if it was sent in jest. So we might not suggest that one. So technically, there with that rule that we were just talking about there, that yield had to happen, even though he was well and truly up far enough, Matty Corleone, to get that done on Sam Lehman. And Vossi, you talk about your rig falling apart. What sort of rig are you running that happened to? You might want to give the guys at simrigs.com a call and get that fixed up.
Absolute masterclass on the segways.
Yeah, I'm just doing what I can. For the sponsors there. We love having them on board.
Cartelione's done a phenomenal job. Back up to 6th spot from 14th after the restart, so he is positively flying. And at this point in time, he looks to be about a second a lap faster than most of the cars around him just on the previous laps. So absolutely flying from Cartelione.
I just want to jump on board with this man as well. We haven't spoken about him much, but he did feature heavily last week, which is Rick Kuznetsov, who has done a great job to get him up to 5th place. You know what, Vossi, we'll do that, mate. Just for tuning in to the session tonight, we will hook you up with a free lesson. I'll have a chat with Chris Purnell, and we will do that, mate. So if you want to send us an email on our website, or drop me a note, stuart at fgmecast.com. I will have a chat with Chris Purnell, and we will get you hooked up with a session with Virtual Motorsport Mentor on the house from the team here at FGM ECast.
Actually race this series as well. There you go, perfect. And I think you were mentioning it about
you just
goal
dropped.
setting.
Sorry, you just dropped out a bit there, mate. Go again.
It's about goal setting from the side of setting a mentor and a coach, and to keep you honest, keep you. There's a term that I'm searching for, and I can't think off the top of my head, but it's about basically pointing you back at what did you do wrong. Let's zero in on those things. What were you focusing on? Where was your brain at different points in the race? And sometimes it can just uncover things that you want to be thinking of. And that's what it's about. Is the whole goal and design of race coaching is to have an outside third party looking at your racing, looking at your thought process, looking at your setup, looking at your corners, everything that you're really doing around the racetrack, and make sure that you're putting your focus in the right areas of the circuit to get the most out of your times and the most out of your sessions is the more important part.
Yeah, the big change that I noticed when I went from normal racing to sim racing is the way that you drive the car in terms of the feedback and the feeling. By the time you catch a skid in a sim racer, you're generally already way out of control, whereas you feel it when you're driving in a car through the seat or through the steering wheel directly, but mainly through the seat when you start to lose the rear end of the car. So it does take some time to adjust to, and obviously getting your turn-in points right, and even things that you don't take. So, like the setup of your monitors and the distance, setting those field of view settings correctly if you're not running VR, so that you're actually getting to see what you need to see while you're running around on the racetrack. All those little things make such a big difference to just getting to a good base time when you're running sim racing. So there's hours to spend in just setting yourself up before you get down to learning to drive the car and indeed setting the car up as well. So it's a commitment. There's no two ways about it. My wife has nicknamed my sim rig Kelly 2.0 because I tend to spend, unfortunately, just about as much time with the sim rig as I do with my darling wife.
Yeah, let's not tell that one.
Oh, she's fully aware. Fully aware. I'm a very, very, very fortunate man. My wife is extraordinarily understanding. Hello to Kelly and my two beautiful kids, Aston and Hamish, who hopefully are fast asleep by now. So Jeff Wang jumped on board with him again up into 4th place. Another one who has benefited out of that post-restart carnage. And he's doing really well. Is that Colonel Sanders on his image picture? It is indeed. It's him having a handshake with Colonel Sanders. So, yeah, obviously it doesn't mind a chicken wing or two. So, but doing a great job up into 4th spot. 9 spots at the moment in terms of our Peninsula Transfers Hard Charger Award. The man making the biggest contribution to his evening is this man here, Sam Lehman. He's up 17 spots, currently in 7th place in another of the BMWs. The one thing that the change has brought about, unfortunately, is we're back into the BMW expression session with the top 5 places held at the moment by those German machines, followed by Matty Cordelleone in the Merc, of course, another wagon from the country of Germany.
So something else to be aware of is that award is actually very, very hotly contested this evening. Matt Gray, 15 positions. You know who else is right up there? Paul Chapman. He's only a couple places ahead of Matt Gray. So everyone is, well, I mean, you can only have so many people flying through the field. So there's it's a lot more hotly contested than it's been.
As Paul Chapman goes wide and into, no, he's pulled that one up. Sorry, just to cut across you there. Just on the last corner there as Hodak comes through and avoids him on the inside.
I was just about to say, what a time to be Chapman and send it off the road, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. So still Sam Lehman, this man here, 17 spots up. Do we have like a fastest or hardest regressor? That's probably not an award you want to win. Car that's dropped the furthest from their qualifying position?
Have to be the queue, I think, this evening.
Yeah, I'm not sure we probably want to highlight it too much. It might be getting into that commentary dark water that you just end up getting yourself into trouble. You know who hasn't done anything at all this race? The man who's done the least of anyone in this race is this man in the lead here, who is still in first position where he qualified. So, you know, probably not good enough from Brady Myers there to not change positions at all. But, you know, he is in the position that everyone wants to be in, and he's driving a great race. After the pit stops, he is our lead car. That one fueled up to the end. We're getting up to crazy half hour. Aaron Johnson Corbett at the moment is around about 36 laps behind somewhere else in another server, doing something completely different. But do join us on Thursday night. We don't have AEE on after we cover the NZSR series, so we will get... I'll tell you what, if we get enough people on the coverage, and yes, he's done absolutely stuff all. He's done so much of nothing that basically rigor mortis is set in this evening. But he, if you can do us a favour, spread the word. Spread the word that on Thursday night at the back end of the NZSR series, we will have your man Corbett on the air, uninterrupted, for an interview post-race, irrespective of what happens, 1 through 3, 4 through 6, wherever he finishes,
Tell you what,
he will be on.
Why don't we cross live to Corbett's eye view in the picture-in-a-picture on Thursday morning, Thursday evening for the start of the race? I think, given the way that man drives, I don't think he'll be too far from where we want to be sitting the camera anyway. So I reckon it's probably the right place for it.
I think he'll get himself into the podium. That's my tip. So as we go to that series on Thursday night.
Well, enough about other races for this.
That's exactly right. We got this one here to cover.
Like you mentioned, Brady Myers has just about run the perfect. Pitted it under caution. Made sure that he got that stop served. Halved his time, or loses next to no time when you start the run through the pit lane under caution. Everyone else is held up. So why not take the opportunity to run down the pit lane at nearly the same speed the cars are circulating on track? Maybe you'll find yourself emerging from pit lane with a car as clean looking and as fast as Brady Myers. But I tell you what, Boyd is absolutely flying at this point in time. Last lap took nearly half a second out of Brady Myers.
And there he is, just there, joining into the back of the picture. So 2.3 seconds between those two cars. Matty Corleone gets another spot there as well, so he's up to 5th, as Trent Lavis there falls down a spot into 7th as well. So a little bit of movement going on a bit further back in the pack. Jack Boyd still here, trying to make the biggest benefit he can out of the early race or mid-race damage to Corleone and Lavis, but I can tell you they are coming back hot on the heels to try and make their way up to the front of the pack. It's a fair variation in lap times here as well. A lot of our drivers into the mid-44s, low 45s, but as you pointed out, Jack Boyd, 42.9 on his last time around the circus. He is flying.
Only man in the 42s. It's like it might have been. He hasn't dipped. For somebody who's been pretty quick and pretty consistent, started the race in 3rd position was Jack Boyd before an untimely event saw him off the course in the opening exchanges of this race. Hasn't done a 141 this race. His fastest lap of the race, a 142.23, but guess what? His last lap around was only 0.7 slower than that. What's he going to clock in this time? 142.7. It's only 0.5 slower than his fastest lap of the race, and 0.7 faster than the car ahead. 1.8 seconds faster than Glenn Firth at this point of time.
And that is what is important, because he is closing the gap to Myers, and he is gapping now 14 seconds behind the car of Glenn Firth behind him. So doing a ripping job to try and make something happen 5 minutes out from the crazy last half hour of the race. Why is it the crazy last half hour? Well, if you have not watched one of our streams before, you cannot go anywhere in the last half an hour, because we basically guarantee you that there will be some crazy stuff happen at some point in time. cars will go off, people will lose wheels. It just happens. It happened last week, and it will happen again this week in this longer format version of the Aus Pro-Am Sim Series, brought to you by HJ Plant Repairs.
So, field started out, what did we say it was? 28 entries deep at the start of the race. Well,
Yes.
we've lost 10 cars. Hodak is the last of the cars that has exited the race. Stephen Bartholomew, who was leading us around for the first lap under caution, now sitting in 16th spot, is the last driver currently No, my apologies.
Frank Hodak's still out there getting his way around.
My apologies.
Oh, lead lap. Oh, my apologies. Yep. Lead lap, you're spot on. Yeah, Steve Bartholomew on the lead lap. And Frank Hodak, to be brutally honest, probably if we had to give out an unlucky award tonight, he's got it. Just getting mauled at the restart there and unfortunately going down a lap. So bad luck to him for tonight, and looking forward to seeing him back on track in this series next week.
I think the last car circulating is 22nd is Sam Thurtell at this point in time. So that's sort of, what's happened for the drivers running a little bit further down the order. Dennis Gaderick is less than a second behind Sam Lehman. So that appears to be where the main battle pack, and Jeff Wang on Rick Kuznetsov at this point in time as well. Webster's in the lane. Webster and Karl Bovich are both in the lane. That
is interesting. So all I've got is a notification just to say that they've entered pit lane, and as you say, they're there. Now, where are they on pit strategy? This is their second stop. So does that mean we're two-stopping? Well, surely we can't be two-stopping at an hour 45.
The caution period may force us into a two-stop, because I was thinking it's a little bit... It's right on the margin of whether the...
Just trying to see... But I was just trying to see when they last pitted, but unfortunately it's covered it up for me now. So what we're looking at, who else has pit early? So we've got Hodak who pitted on lap 15. I'm not sure that that's actually correct. Rodney Hobbs lap 16. They certainly won't be filled to the end pitting that early, but it's going to be interesting to see whether or not any of these other drivers have to pull in through the pits, because they wouldn't have been counting on a safety car period at all. It's the first one we've seen basically in any GT racing that we've covered.
Well, Phillip Island, there was one.
There was one, yeah. There was that restart, but that was quite early on in the race, lap 2 or 3 from memory. So, yeah, I hadn't even considered that might play into this and whether or not we're going to see another stop.
That's the thing. We didn't even consider. It wasn't even in our minds that a safety car and a two-stop strategy would enter into the race. But I'm wondering whether or not Daniel Webster and Karl Bovich might have caught themselves a trick this evening. They might have short-fueled themselves earlier on and given themselves a pace, and they were looking for another stop and said, we're going to have to take it. There's no way we get home from here. Let's just take a splash, get out there, circulate quickly, grab some track position, and then take it, come back in for a splash, and we'll get to the end of the race. So
can I drop another small chestnut on you then for Jack Boyd? So I think we might... I think we might be able to work this out here. So if I were to tell you that Brady Myers' pit stop under the caution was 42 seconds long, and Jack Boyd's pit stop was 52 seconds long, that would suggest one of two things, and it's probably the second. It could be that he took tyres, which explains his race pace against Brady Myers. 10 seconds, not enough time to take a set of tyres in one of these cars, around about 20 seconds.
Because he was damaged.
Sorry?
Jack had to pit, because of the damage in the opening exchanges of the race, Jack had to pit and grab the fast repair.
On lap 1 or 2, but... He pit under the safety car like everyone else did, but was in the pit lane for 10 seconds longer. So unless it was for discretionary repairs, he's either taken tyres and short-fueled, or he's fueled to the end and everyone else hasn't. See, Glenn Firth in pit lane.
I wonder whether he's taken left-hand side tyres.
I think that Jack Boyd is the only car on the track fueled to the end of this race.
Well, hang on. I think there's a little... Matt Cartellone
had a 1 minute 34 second stop. So I think he might have taken 4 tyres.
4 tyres and full fuel.
Boyd might have taken 2 tyres, and I think your comments about his lap pace might be correct. Or alternatively, Brady thinks he can save enough to get home. Ooh.
So we'll keep an eye here on Myers and what he does as we get around. So those drivers in pit lane now pit on lap 21. So I'm just going to switch ahead to our race leader here as he makes a slight mistake getting into the turn there. He's obviously struggling with those tyres towards 30 or inside 30 minutes to go. See, once again, we said we weren't lying. Stick around because in the last 30 minutes it always happens and it's just starting to unwind in front of us here. So just keep an eye for Brady Myers and see if he does pull into the pit lane, and he doesn't on this lap. So at the moment we've got Myers, Boyd and Cardleone. Sorry?
Can we get an in-car shot of Myers?
We absolutely can. There is no chance.
No, if he's all that late.
As we've jumped on board at this point, trying to get that one pulled up. So definitely struggling with tyres. 100% struggling with tyres in that BMW. Which, again, is interesting. Really interesting because of the fact that the track temperature's been cool. It's been overcast here the whole race. And the low track temperatures, as we see Jeffrey Wang pull into the pits as well. The low track temperature here means that these cars shouldn't need tyres necessarily. Not at an hour 45. It's going to be a struggle towards the end, as we see Myers struggling a lot. It's going to be a struggle towards the end with grip, but probably shouldn't be too bad. I'm just putting on here to see when Wang gets out of the pit lane. So he's still stationary there. So he's doing a long pit service time. He's stationary 20 seconds so far. Wondering if he's deciding to take tyres or not. Let's just jump on board with Jeff Wang as well. Just to see what they're doing on that car.
It's got to be up on the track, surely.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a better view of it here. Yeah, it is. So he's taking tyres. So 27 minutes to go taking tyres for, we'll call him now, unfortunately, Colonel Sanders. He is taking tyres at the moment, Jeff Wang. So that, again, plays into Jack Boyd having taken maybe 2 tyres in that BMW, which explains the massive variation in pace between himself and Myers, who is struggling a little bit under brakes and on turn in that BMW in front of him, as Boyd has a little look down the inside. Definitely not the time to get it done, as we had Jeff Wang coming out of pit lane at the same time. So closing the door a little bit there for him to be able to try and get that move done.
Taking tyres. Keep your eye in the background of these shots as well, just for that green and silver BMW. If he starts pushing on fresher tyres, there's every chance he might end up on the rear end of Jack Boyd and Brady Myers in a couple of laps' time as well, and pushing the issue with those guys because he'll want his lap back.
Yeah, absolutely. But he should get it back if everyone else has to pit, except that Jack Boyd's in front of him. And
Jack Boyd right now, so
over the back of this one.
But there's also another game to play here. They are absolutely surrounded by lap traffic. So
yeah, there's Clink and Buchanan, I think it is, who are in front of him, or Clink and Bartholomew. I can't see whether or not that was the GT. Barvich and Bartholomew. Wow, he's just managing to pull that up there. You can see it's squirming as Barvik did a good job to make room there for this battle to continue. Oh, he's right up there. Look, you can't get a more closer view of the tailpipe of a BMW Z4 while it's running around at the speeds this one is. Then we just got on board then.
You can smell the exhaustion and the dirty rag that BMW is running on at the moment.
Absolutely, you can smell the Kleiner Feikling fueling that one, and absolutely right up as close as you can get without bumping there, because there was no note of any incident at all. So right up on the back of it here. What's he going to do here? Is he going to try and get... No, not quite getting to the apex of that corner there. Really wanting to use and get over the top of that little... I don't know what they call it, the hot dog on the inside of the track there that helps yeah, it just helps pull the car in and around the corner, keeping that tyre on the inside of it. So down here under the Repsol Bridge. This will be where the Mayors BMW will start to struggle with grip with these higher speed corners. Done a reasonable job to get through there, but wow, again you can see as we cop some fireworks to the face on the front of the Boyd BMW. I hope you're enjoying this as much as we are as we get to under 25 minutes to go in this round 3 race from Catalonia, brought to you by HJ Plant Repairs. Thank you for joining us, the audience tonight. We've enjoyed bringing this one to you so far. Down the back straight, this is where Mayers struggled to pull the car up before with some lap traffic in front of him. Boyd probably wanting to try and get the opportunity. Mayers closed the door very early there to make sure that he wasn't able to be challenged down the inside. Get through this flip-flop section here. Again, any car with the aging tyres is going to struggle. You can see there, Mayers not able to get back on the power as early as Boyd. And Boyd will get through here relatively quickly. We're looking for Mayers to peel off. He has not again, so he's still going around. When will he pit? Will he pit?
That's a run. Boyd has got a phenomenal run there coming out. This time there's no lap to manage. Boyd will look to the end. Pulls alongside the 22 and he assumes the race lead from grass to pass. No, it's not done. Myers fights back down into turn number 1, outbrakes him, runs it around the outside. Good, clean, respective racing from both drivers there at the front of the field.
Wow, and it's still on. It's still on as we go down into turn 3. Mayers is going to get it done again here. As you know, the door is closed. Got to be really careful there, Mayers, with the ruling that we read out there. Yeah, but he's not going to get it done. Mayers is in a better position heading down here into turn 4. Is he going to pull it up? Pulls it up. This is great racing from these two side by side. 23 minutes to go. Someone's going to have to yield here, particularly down into through here, or someone's going to run wide. But Mayers is saying, well, I'm not yielding. It's my first position. If you want it, you got to come and get it. Oh, and he gets it through. Well, great driving from these two drivers, Boyd and Mayers.
I don't think this is done. I don't think this is done.
Not.
Myers will have another go. Myers will have another go here at the end of the straight. He's been struggling to pull it up and turn it left now, down at the back end of the straight. Myers, Boyd, much better drive that time through, and it's done and dusted. Jack Boyd assumes the lead of this motor race with about 20 minutes left to roll.
Myers, what's he going to do here? Does he take some tyres and try and make a run to the finish? As we see now as well, Glenn Firth into the pit lane. The gap here is widening between these two drivers, so Jack Boyd coming around there, and no pit lane again for Mayers. And you know what we have not been watching in all of this is the lap speed of Matty Corleone. He unfortunately is not making up the gap here to these lead cars, about 23 seconds back down the road in third spot. There is a battle going on a little bit further back with Jeffrey Wang, who has taken a pit stop, and Carl Barvik in the RRT Barupes sponsored Ferrari. So we'll try and jump onto that one. I think this one's settled down for a minute.
That's the third time through the lane for Firth. I thought Firth was... I think he was only in about 5 or 6 laps ago.
Maybe he got a drive through, potentially speeding in pit lane or something similar to that. I'm pretty sure it was actually in last lap. What have we got there? 46. Yeah, he was. He was in last lap, so not sure why he's come in 2 laps in a row. Only thing I can think of there is potentially speeding in pit lane and getting a drive through.
Oh, there's nothing on the readout, so it'd have to be speeding. It'd have to be an automatic black flag. It hasn't been applied manually by race control, so...
Yeah, so we might try and find that one out for the end of the race. As we're just on board here still with Barvik and Wang. This is the battle for 13th and 14th. Jeff Wang on much fresher tyres here. We did take note of him getting through pit lane and getting a new set of boots on that BMW. That TV angle not doing you guys any favours there at home trying to watch what it is that I am talking about. So we will jump a little bit further back on that one for you so you can see what I am talking about when I can do what I need to do. There we go. Come on, mouse, you need to play as well. Jump out onto here as the battle heats up for this one. Way down the field, but certainly these guys still playing for sheep stations. I can tell you at the front of the field, the gap has opened up to coming on to 3/4 of a second between Boyd and Mayers. So that push as well to defend that lead position will have only hurt Mayer's tyres further, as we've got the Jeffrey Wang BMW all over the back of Barvik here. And is that Brady Buchanan in front of them?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. So this is all for
Whoa,
position.
there he
Oh,
goes!
big dive. Big dive. And getting the job done too. A good part of the track to try and make that move stick. And a little bit of a waggle under corner exit. Oh, no, and that's no good there at all. That's actually a drive-through, and that's going to affect the race at all three of those drivers. 0 point incident there. It actually looked like what's called a net code. I didn't see any touch, but unfortunately it is what it is, and that's going to result, I'd say, in a drive-through for Jeffrey Wang after trying to make that pass.
I honestly don't think he should have gone for the move there.
He's very aggressive.
Look, you've just gotten your first move done. Next step is to read the driver in front of you and have a look at what their pace is like, where they're weak. You know, you sort of want 1 or 2 corners to go, okay, he's a little bit weak under brakes. Okay, he's no problem, we'll dive on a brakes at the next corner, we'll get him and move on there. I think for him, he needed to settle, probably look at turn 1 on the next lap was going to be his best opportunity to grab another spot after he'd done a little bit of reading in the back of Buchanan's car. But yeah, obviously wanting to get a move along was Jeffrey Wang, and he'll, I'm sure as anything, he'll find himself caught in the lane in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, I think you'd be spot on there.
If I was him, I'd do it now, just to get rid of it.
Yeah, we'll see, I guess, how would that play? I mean, if they haven't called it, you know, have you served it?
I mean, if you've already served it, like, the race control can waive it to get rid of it as well. So, you know, it's the same thing as redressing an issue. That is one big can of worms that you don't want to open sometimes, and V8 Supercars opened it a few years ago, and we all know what happened to Scott McLaughlin and Garth Tander and Jamie Whincup at Bathurst immediately after that can of worms got opened. So look, it's a controversial issue. Sometimes it's nice and easy, but it relies upon all drivers communicating nicely. I think it's something you can do in iRacing, whereby all drivers do have a communal open chat and they're able to talk to each other a little bit more, unlike in real life, whereby the drivers are pretty much exclusively talking directly to the team and sometimes the broadcast crew. But look, and there it is. Wang's receiving a black flag already.
Yeah, no, and unfortunately that's fair enough. He can't have too many grievances about that. It was a great drive, but a little bit too aggressive.
Yeah, look, and he'll have to settle himself down now, get through, get the penalty served, and get back on with your race and pick that spot up as soon as possible.
Absolutely right. So we have this battle here that I want to talk about next, which is you might have wondered why we were on 4th place because Netsov there, but that man there behind him, Trent Lavis, is coming through, and he is going to give him some hurry along. So what this does now is have in our top 4 places, we have the top 3 of our current championship points. So Matt Lavis, the man on screen here, trying to close down Rick Kuznetsov. So
you got Kuznetsov on the screen at the moment. Lavis, the green and silver car just behind him.
We've then got Cardaleone in front of him in 3rd place, about 14 seconds up the road. And our current championship 3rd place sitter, Jack Boyd, is the leader of this race. So what will this do? It will end up closing the gap between Cardaleone and Boyd, and also between Cardaleone and Lavis. So the points lead there, probably closing down to 1 or 2 points between Lavis and Cardaleone for 1st and 2nd spot.
It's going to get tight, and the championship still with a few rounds left to play. It'll be it's not something the drivers will ignore either. They'll be aware of their own sort of championship goals and aspirations.
and how that plays out on the racetrack, you'll generally see the drivers who have championship aspirations potentially playing a little bit more conservative the higher up the field they are.
And
They're happy to... Yep, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, your mic dropped out. I thought you'd stop. My apologies.
Yeah, they'll generally be happier to walk away with a place finish. A fifth place finish in the case of Laves as he stands right now, rather than push it and end up with a 7th place finish because you've put the car just slightly offline, trying to force the issue with Kuznetsov in 4th place. So he'd be more than happy to accept a 5th place position right now and just keep those championship hopes alive rather than absolutely dashing them on the rocks. But at the same time, still trying to be aggressive enough to snap up an opportunity if it presents itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just going to remind our viewers, or let our new viewers know, that as he closes right up under brakes there on the back of Kuznetsov, that there is championship money on the table here.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I think Kuznetsov, they're actually getting out of the way to a certain extent there. It looked far too controlled a move to run that wide, and maybe recognising exactly what you're saying, which is that Lavis is faster than him, so there's no point in fighting and potentially being taken out. Better off banking the points and taking home that 5th spot for tonight's race. But there is, I think, $300 up for grabs for our series champion, $150 for 2nd place and $50 for 3rd. So, definitely eyes on the prize for the guys at the front of the field about making sure they make bank this week and position themselves so, they can get back into next week and consolidate their position in the championship race. Just checking here, Kuznetsov in 12th place currently, so he's going to move up. Luke Bergen's no longer in the race, Boyd not in the race, Kuznetsov ahead of Clank, Bond, Brady Myers is out as well, so we've got a good jump for Kuznetsov if he just takes home 5th place here. So a good move from him to, as we say, make bank and certainly move himself up the table.
You might actually see Laves try to make a little bit of pace out of this car right now while the sun shines before the end of the race. So he was actually 1.5 seconds quicker than Kuznetsov on that last lap, and he was marginally faster than Cardelloni, but Cardelloni is 16 seconds up ahead on the racetrack. So look, he had to get by Kuznetsov on the last lap, maybe overheated the tyres, need to cool them off slightly, let the grip come back to him a little bit, but once it does, I'm not gonna say that that this race is over and done with from the 3rd and 4th standpoint at this stage, Stuart.
It's pretty close on lap time, so, it's... there's no doubt Lovis can drive, so we'll see. I think he, unfortunately, with only 12 minutes to go, I'm going to go the opposite. I think that, unfortunately, his day is done. And really, the only battle potential that there is between 1 and 2, and potentially a little bit further down the field as Bartholomew and Daniel Webster are still fighting it out for 11th and 12th. And while this battle, situation progresses, we'll jump on with these two here while they battle it out for those 2 positions. And I did make a mistake before. I said that Brady Myers was out of the race. My apologies, Brady, certainly not in 2nd place. And you will make bank and move up the championship table as a result of this race as well.
You're thinking of the other Brady?
I was indeed. Thank you very much. I was thinking of Brady McHugh, who obviously, unfortunately, went out early in the race, having qualified up the front of the field.
Another battle to keep your eyes on as well. My eyes have just dropped off it. Lehman and Chapman were actually a little bit closer on that last lap. And
Very
I
close.
think Guitaric is actually quite close. I'm not sure if it's
Guitaric into pit
Lehman.
lane. Guitaric into pit lane.
And he collected the wall on the way in there too. So that wasn't a clean and efficient stop. So this might be the last round on the drivers sort of blinking in terms of fuel.
Paul Chapman doing real well as well. You know what he needs to do? He needs to, if he can, get in front of Sam Lehman to take out our award for Peninsula Transfers hard charger for the week. And he'll go past Guitaric in pit lane now and equal Sam Lehman on up 18 spots. So the battle between him and Sam for that hard charger award for the week is alive and well.
Well, I'll tell you what.
31 seconds, though. It's a big gap to make up.
I mean, Lehman's got an option towards Kuznetsov. That's a 13-second margin, and
Chapman's got to defend
we
here
can't,
from
we can't even
too.
guarantee that the only people we can say that are for sure home. We feel like Boyd is home. We feel like Clink is home. Gray is home. Guitaric just blinked, so we're confident he's home. Bartholomew pitted earlier. Webster pitted earlier. Barvich has pitted twice. Wang, Buchanan, and Firth have all pitted. And Kodak's back on the lead lap, I'll have you know.
Wow, that's a good development there for Frank. So he's in 16th spot in this race, as you say, on the lead lap. And Matty Cardleone in pit lane.
Now, does that have implications for others?
Well, he's up to third. The question is, that's a drive-through. That is a drive-through penalty. So we need to hear back to see if there is any reason for that.
That's got to be incident points. Because
it is 21 off tracks for Matty Cardleone.
Yeah, because there was nothing handed down by race control intently for anything. Nothing has been said to race control for the last 20, 30 minutes now. So it's been... actually, I'm just looking at the race information at this point in time. There's a penalty at 20x and then DQ at 25.
So Cardleone has to be very careful for the last 8 minutes of the race.
If he brushes another car, his
race is run.
Hodak's in a pit lane at the moment.
Okay, so getting through there. So that's really interesting. We hadn't even had a look at the off tracks as part of consideration for anything that's been going on in this race, and that's unfortunately cost Matty Cardleone there. And look, and he's just picked up another one as well, so he is up to 22 off tracks, and I'd say that's probably for turn 1. So don't be too surprised if he slows right down now to make sure that he gets through, because again, unfortunately for him, I was just going to say 4 of the points that he picked up there weren't his fault when he was an innocent bystander in one of those early incidents in the race. So if he does get DQ'd, it would be terribly bad luck for Matty Cardleone.
Yeah, well, I think more words are going to be said at the end. Kuznetsov and Lehman are 7 seconds either side of him. So Kuznetsov in front of Cardleone by 7 seconds and Lehman behind by 7 seconds. So he's playing with fire, Cardleone. It's a double-edged sword. If he wants to push, there's maybe another place on the card, but he's risking the whole kitty if he wants to do that. So
I'll just keep an eye on the off tracks for Cardleone there. We do have a counter on the screen as we jump back on board with the Battle of Bartholomew versus Webster, which is our closest battle on track at the moment. Other than, what else have we got here? Matty Gray and Dennis Guitarit up the road, which is an all-forward battle. There's still a margin in that of over a second. Brady Buchanan, Glenn Firth still battling out a little bit further back down the pack as well.
Bolton and Jackson, it looks like, neck and neck as well, 16th and 17th.
Did McMahon have a big off? He's been sat in pit lane now. Oh no, he's been off for a while now, for about 40 minutes.
He's out. He threw in the towel much. So
we've still got 2 seconds between our leader, Boyd and Mayers. They may be managing fuel, although their lap times would suggest otherwise, doing 43s.
Well, I mean, it's not unreasonable.
Oh. Sorry.
Whether or not they're clutching it to conserve fuel could be something, and whether they're picking up the clutch and just letting the car rotate through the mid corner with no engine braking whatsoever. So
it's Cardleone's in the pit lane again. This time for fuel. Or was it not a drive-through? Was it a stop-go?
Well, he drove through. He drove through.
Yeah, so
on the last stop, there was no pit.
Oh, and he's overshot pit lane as well.
Oh man!
It's not from bad to worse for him tonight. He's obviously got to take a splash and dash to get that thing through to the end of the race. Yeah, quick stop there, but he's overrun the pit box. He'll be absolutely burning inside that Mercedes, as that basically finishes his night. He'll finish down in 6th or 7th, and will lose, potentially lose second place in the championship to Jack Boyd, our race leader, who's in. He's in.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I don't think, which means that Myers isn't safe. Like,
Not at all.
If Boyd's in, Myers will be in next lap for sure. I don't question mark on that.
Well, Willie, we've got just under 5 minutes to go. So looking at around about 4 laps. I'm just going to jump in the car. We'll have a listen.
He wasn't saving earlier.
No, I mean, that's not fuel saving. That's normal around that part of the track.
He's not saving.
No, it doesn't
unless
sound
he's
like
done
it.
saving. Well, him saving earlier in the race, letting Boyd by.
Oh, there's a fair bit of saving there. There's clutch fair way down into that corner.
Hang on, Myers is on the radio. I think he might have said he's boxing this lap. No, it was just the overtake on Guitaric. Guitaric was getting out of...
Let's see down the end of the straight here how early he puts the clutch in or jumps on the brakes. Very early. Very early.
That's what it is. He's letting Guitaric go. I think Guitaric might work with him here. What's the gap? The margin back to Boyd...
20 seconds.
20 seconds. So he's got all the time in the world.
He can fuel save. He's going to have 2 more laps to do. Very much saving fuel. And you know what he's done as well? There's only going to be 2 laps to go. 3 minutes left. Minute 45 a lap. He's managed to push it out, so there's only going to be 2 more laps to go. So he literally has to fuel save to get himself around the track 2
I reckon he was
more
saving
times.
earlier in the stint and making Boyd push.
Well, but when they were fighting for the lead, there didn't look to be a lot of any sort of saving going on at all. He's definitely saving now, though. So, and look, fuel saving can trip you up. You know, you change your rhythm in how you drive the race car, and it can definitely catch up with you with an over rotation through a corner or something like that. So, you're going to need to be careful here. Obviously, 2 laps to go. The gap is falling. Jack Boyd now down to 17 seconds.
He's taking 2 seconds out of him a lap. That's the difference.
And potentially more next lap. So the longer these laps take, the better it is. We want to break.
Because Netstov in the lane.
So that helps Corteleone, who will jump back up into 5th position.
Well, is Laves saving now? That's what I want to know. Because if is Laves going to... Because Laves could...
Yes, Laves is saving.
If Myers blinks and goes down the lane, Laves might leapfrog him because he's only 24 seconds behind. He might. Whoa! I tell you what, we were talking about silly season, an hour ago, but it's here, ladies and gentlemen. Silly season decided for the last 10 minutes.
So Laves, I reckon, is definitely saving fuel. We've got Boyd, who doesn't need to save fuel. What did he just do?
Laves had a longer stop than Boyd at the lap 21 stop.
So what's Boyd doing lap time wise? He's come across the line, 1:44. So he's not that much quicker than the car's saving fuel. So that's tyre related, most certainly. He should definitely be picking up a couple of seconds a lap on Myers.
Unless he ran into traffic as well, would be the only other thing.
Potentially. This will be the last lap of this race, with Brady Myers just about approaching halfway around the track, 40 seconds to go.
I don't have a white flag yet, so I'd hold off. I reckon there's another lap. I reckon they'll grab the white flag the next time past.
Generally, the flag comes out when there's not enough time to complete another full lap. So interesting.
But we would have seen an indication of.
Certainly would have.
which I reckon they get the white flag this time.
When the clock hits 0, the checkered flag surely got to come out. Anyway, we'll see. That could hurt as well. That could mean that Myers hasn't saved enough fuel to get around for another full lap. So we clock down to 0. What's going to happen? No checkers. No checkered flag. It's going to be a white flag. So I hope he's got enough juice left in the tank to do another lap in that BMW. There it is, checkered flag.
Oh.
So it is going to be Myers to take out this first Enduro round. A great drive from him. Thanks very much, Aaron, for your feedback on the call, mate. We will see you on Thursday night. And a great race there from Brady Myers to effectively lead from start to finish with some adjustments in the middle for pit stops. We've got Jack Boyd, who's going to come through and take out second place. Great drive, Jack. That will certainly help your championship. Trent Lavis taking out another podium. This man here is going to be difficult to beat as he will extend his lead at the top of the championship. Matty Corteleone there, unfortunately only managing to get back into 6th spot. Thanks very much, Vossi. We appreciate it, mate. And we will hopefully see you on another call as well. So do hang around. We're going to have our top 3 drivers join us as this race is finished. Trent Lavis there coming across the line to finish in 3rd. We will have our top 3 drivers join us in the combox, and we will ask them the hard questions like, what are the lotto numbers on this Sunday night lotto draw, and all the rest.
It's got to be Brady Myers with the gamble of running long fuel stop. It's Myers you've got to ask, because I reckon there was I reckon there's sub 1 litre in that car as he crossed this line.
Lavis as well, only taking 1 stop. They both stopped on exactly the same lap.
Under caution.
Yep, so him, Lavis and Lehman all playing the strategy right. Bartholomew as well in the Ford, the only other car to single stop this race. So good fuel management from them, certainly working out for Lavis and Lehman. Lehman there up and taking out our Peninsula Transfer Hard Charger Award, moving a massive 20 spots during the race from his starting position of 24th up to 4th. So a cracking drive from you, Sam Lehman. Well played with the strategy. Running long and conserving fuel certainly paid out for you in the end to take a really strong 4th place finish. Kuznetsov in 5th, Cardleone 6th, as we mentioned. Brad Klink, mixed night for him, but a good recovery to finish in 7th place, up 7 positions. Why is it so slow, Lucas? Because it's the end of the race, mate. The drivers just making their way back around to pit lane at the end of this race. And we've got Guitarek in his debut finishing in 8th, and then Matty Gray 9th, and rounding out our top 10 was Daniel Webster. Don't despair, Lucas. You can join us again, mate. We broadcast pretty much every night of the week with some form of GT racing or otherwise, and we will be on again tomorrow night with Retro Wednesday, where we're doing some non-retro NBA 2K20 gaming, followed by the ANSCAR 86 Grand National Series after that at where we're going to at Dover. So if you're not interested in that, GT racing on Thursday starting at 5 o'clock, and then we do have our IndyCar series on Friday night, as there's a little bit of
Lavis is out of fuel, I think.
A little bit of pushing going on there to help Lavis get around the track, and that's good sportsmanship from Kuznetsov. This is our version of collecting a driver.
Yeah, they're both stuttering. Look at that. That's Kuznetsov choking on the fuel, trying to get it back down in the lane.
All right, let's see if we can grab our drivers and bring them into the com booth
I'll
here.
jump up and see what I can grab for you.
So as I was just mentioning there, one thing we have been remiss of tonight is mentioning our big bad broadcast partner, AFTERSHOCK PC. The guys at AFTERSHOCK PC do a fantastic job. We have grabbed a couple of computers from them for our broadcast setup, and basically build anything from entry level to top of the line and custom gaming computers for you. Based in Melbourne, do mail order, and they do a ripping job. So if you are in the market for a new PC, we would certainly wholeheartedly recommend the team out at AFTERSHOCK PCs. based in Melbourne, employing Melbournians, so support local, particularly at the moment. They would be very thankful for your business. And obviously, we did mention it before, they're Virtual Motorsport Mentor, the driver partners for us in this one here. So do jump on there and see if you need anything from basic driver training right up to you're trying to prepare for endurance events or anything like that. Then Chris Pennell's the man to see. And last but not least, we are a Razer streamer, so thank you to them for getting on board, and HJ Plant Repairs, the series partner for Aus Pro-Am Sim Series Round 3 at Catalunya, as we are joined by at least two of the men who filled out our podium here, just waiting for the third to join us.
Righto, so we've got Brady Myers now. Brady, were you ecstatic to see Jack sending it down into the pit lane with a couple of laps to go there, mate? You sounded like you were fuel saving and trying to squeak out that last lap.
Yeah, man, I was very tight on fuel. So to see Jack, unfortunately have to pit. So yeah, I was all cheering though. That was very tight.
Was it cheering, or was it more like, oh, are we there? Are we sure we're there?
Oh, I can tell you, I was just my eyes glued to my JRT, telling me how much fuel I had left or how much fuel I had to save.
Well, congratulations managing to get it done. It was a pretty good drive from you tonight. Managed to stick it on pole and drive from there away to the race win. So congratulations on taking out the pole position award this evening for, I believe it was Peninsula Transfers.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, great to be on pole. Pretty awesome lap. Managed to stitch it together right at the end, which was nice. But sort of controlled the race a bit, and yeah, I knew it was going to be really tight with fuel, so I'm really, really happy to grab that one. So it was an awesome exchange with Jack, though. We had a great few laps of battling, so kudos to him.
Probably perfect time to cross over to Jack. An interesting first couple of laps there for you this evening, Jack. Not the way you wanted to start the race, staring at dirt either side of the tyres on the first lap.
Yeah, for sure. I suppose a bit of bad luck there, but yeah, got a good start up to second, and yeah, pretty much just got collected. So strategy was out the window, as you could see with the fuel at the end. But yeah, I think it's still a pretty good job to get back to second.
So yeah, absolutely ripping job to get back to second. You were absolutely an innocent bystander on that first lap there. So a great drive from you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, a bit tight at the end with fuel, of course, but it was either try and save it or go have a battle with Brady. And yeah, always have a good race with Brady, and it was awesome fun. Hopefully it put on a decent show.
Oh, it was, and it was. I think it was 6 corners in a row you guys were running side by side. So shout out from the comm box for not only the intensity of the battle, but also the respect and racing room shown by both drivers this evening. Just jumping into the comm box in the background is actually our third place man this evening, and was it series leader was Laves, I believe, heading into this evening. Trent,
Absolutely.
Another good result for you, mate, sticking it onto the podium and getting to come home covered in champagne.
I think you might just be on mute there, Trent.
He's trying.
He's trying. We're still struggling.
How are we now?
There we go.
There we
We're
go.
in.
Gravy. There's a button on my headset. I forgot to put it on. Sorry, boys. Yeah, mid-pack battles there at the start. I dropped back, had a few errors at the start there, and got shuffled. So I was in the crux of it, and I managed to stick relatively clean. And yeah, mid race there, copped a bit of a penalty after the safety car. Sorry to Hodak there. I got the inside and I couldn't see him, and last minute come across my nose and turned him around. So I apologise for that. Yeah, had to save for the last 50 laps. I saved all the way home. So I managed to save about 12 litres I think I needed when I came off the pit stop to make it to the end of the race. And crossed the line with 0.6 left.
Whoa. No wonder you were getting a nudge back round through to the pit lane, and Carleone sounded like he was coughing coming down the lane as well.
Yeah, it was super tight because I managed to pull the stop at the pit stop there to lap 25 during the safety car, and just topped it right up, took left side tyres, and I had really good pace. Like I was just driving around like maybe 60%. And just driving to a number, and managed to get the fuel number down to a safe point, and I sort of pushed a little bit harder towards the end to keep the gap up and make up a few spots, and it sort of paid off. So it was awesome.
That's it. And, well, championships can be won and lost on the ability to minimize mistakes earlier in the race. Not able to do that tonight, but still able to drive it all the way back up to the pointy end of the field as need be. Championship is going to start getting a little bit close as the season continues to wind its way towards a conclusion. But 4 places over Cardelloni tonight, mate. You've got to be happy with that.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty stoked to be. I had 0 laps before I jumped into the full practice session this morning around this track and these things. So it was a crazy learning experience, and I was pretty grateful that I was close enough to the pace of Jack and Brady. Those boys are just jets. You guys are killing it. So if you guys don't make many mistakes, you got me covered. But I'm hoping that maybe you have a bit of a tussle and let me grab onto your tassels and drag me along a bit.
So Jack Brady, is that an offer of drafting support over to Trent for the rest of the season at all?
You'll have to catch me first.
Yeah, no, I'm bugged.
Well, ladies and gents, it has been a phenomenal night of racing. Incidents right the way through. I think this has been probably the most exciting event I think I've covered in my iRacing commentary career so far. The race never stopped failing to impress. It's never stopped impressing right the way through, not failing to impress. It was impressive the entire way through the event.
Absolutely. And next week we're off to Watkins Glen for back to normal, our 2-race setup there. So you'll be sure to see the podium tonight feature heavily in that one, along with the usual suspects as this series continues to develop. As Scotty said there, Trent extending his lead at the front of the pack here. Jack Boyd moving up into second place in the points standings, I believe. So we'll bring that table to you as that is released. But that is certainly it from us tonight. It has been a non-stop talkathon with trying to keep up to date with everything that's gone on with this one. As you said, there were some contentious points, particularly around wave bars at the safety car and a few other bits and pieces that I'm sure will keep the stewards and the team busy throughout the rest of this evening. Obviously, a big thank you to the series organisers for putting this one on for all of the drivers, and to once again the series partners as well for helping get this together. HJ Plant Repairs, the marquee sponsor, and Peninsula Transfers for the Hard Charger Award for the season. And at this stage tonight, Sam Lehman taking a big contribution towards that with a massive 20-place gain due to his fuel management throughout the race.
But before we go this evening, as the championship starts to get towards the pointy end, Jack Boyd and Trent Labers. Jack, have you got any words for Trent for next week at Watkins Glen?
No, not really. Maybe do some practice. But hopefully some good racing again. I know Trent's been a good racer, and we had a really clean battle at Phillip Island, so hopefully we can continue that to next week.
Trent, would you care to respond by turning a few laps this week?
Well, I actually know the track, so I should be a little bit better off, I think, at Watkins. So, keen to. I love racing clean, love racing close, and Jack and Brady, those boys are awesome to battle with, and Rubbin's racing, but we definitely don't want to beat each other or anything like that, and it should be a shitload of fun. Shitload of fun.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute honour to bring this to you once again. Stu, take us out, mate.
Well, we've got. I've just been putting in the stream there. There's plenty coming up from the rest of the week for us. As I mentioned before, we've got a little bit of retro gaming tomorrow night, but we're putting a slight spin on that. We're going to do some NBA 2K in preparation for the release of NBA 2K21 a little bit earlier into September. Followed by our ANSCAR Grand National Series live from Dover this week. Looking forward to bringing you that one after we did a live replay on the weekend after our streaming issues last week. What have we got on Thursday night? We're off to Monza with the NZSR series. There's no AEE this week. That has now moved to a fortnightly affair for us. So GT Super GT Thursday this week is only the short stream, but we'll be sure to put something on for you after that. And then excited to get into round 2 of our ANZ IndyCar series featuring the Pro Mazda short form race, followed by our feature race with the Dallara IR18. I've had a few more drivers join that series, so it will be good to see whether or not Chris Purnell can make it 2 in a row in the Dallara class, and the very own Matty Corleone from this series here take out 2 races in a row in the Pro Mazda. So plenty to come from us on FGM ECast. We loved having our viewers on board again tonight, a whopping audience. I don't think it really dropped below 50 all night, so we appreciate your support in jumping on and helping our channel grow. And if you are interested in getting involved in a series, jump onto fgmecast.com, where you can apply to drive in any of the series that we run there. This series here, fully subscribed at the moment, a fantastic job by the organisers. But if you are interested in getting involved next season, I do believe there is a waiting list for them as well. So if you want to get involved, plenty to do. If you don't, we love you joining us, sitting on the sidelines, and continuing to keep us entertained with your comments. Until we see you again, which is tomorrow night. Thanks for joining us on your place for sim racing pace, FGM ECast.